Are you a brewhead? I'm a brewhead. Are you a brewhead? I'm a brewhead. Y'all are brewheads? Yeah, we brewheads. So pour a glass of craft beer, we can do this. Yeah.
What's good, y'all? This is C-Certified Brewhead, and welcome to episode 185 of Beer and Other Shit, the podcast Adjunct series. Folks, we're up to somewhere new tonight. I've really been enjoying exploring the US this past summer, and I got to go to a few places that I hadn't been before. And it's been really cool because, you know, COVID kind of kept us all pretty local and you didn't really get to try as much. So since we moved to here at Hamilton in Ontario, it's closer to a whole bunch of different cities and states and different things that we were pretty far from in Montreal for all that time. So this summer, we finally went down to Indiana on the way back from Nashville, and we were looking at places to stay to kind of break up the trip. And Indianapolis has always been something that I didn't know a lot about. I always liked basketball, so I always thought the Pacers were killing it in the 90s, so I was aware of it and everything, but I hadn't heard a lot about the beer scene. And I was doing my research, and Reddit has been a pretty good, if you go to like the best breweries in any given subreddit for a city, that's a pretty good litmus test of what the people are feeling. And this brewery that we're talking to tonight were easily the top, the most recommended brewery, which was very cool. We went down and it absolutely lived up to the hype. Unfortunately for us, we got there like 15 minutes before closing, but staff were lovely. We just didn't get to see it bustling, but I got the point. So very excited to talk to these folks here and get into, you know, things about the Indiana craft beer scene that, you know, we haven't explored before. And of course, to get into these fantastic beers. So guys, let me make sure I get this as smooth as possible. All right, let me try. I always mess this up. Please welcome. Here we go. Courtney and Derek of Guggman Haus in the building. Hey, I'm playing the. Oh no! Wait! There it is. Had to make sure we got that, and boom! And I actually pressed the wrong one, but it's okay. And now we're good, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks for meeting us.
Pleasure. Yes, very, very cool. Like I was saying, it was. Are you guys aware of the level of like how heavily people rate you guys like online?
I try to stay up on what's going on online. It's pretty cool to see how much people enjoy our space.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's like it's hard to, if you go into a new city, and I always post on stories or something like, hey guys, and you're looking for recommendations for these cities, and I didn't think anyone recommended anything for Indianapolis for this time. So then Reddit was the best thing. But yeah, you guys were like all over that. People were like, not even a question. Nice. It was very, and specifically for Hayes, by the way. And sort of for everything else, but that was like, if you want Hayes, that's where you have to go. And people was like aggressively passionate about that. So I thought that was very, very cool. So I'm super excited to chat to you both and just learn a lot more about the business, about what you guys are doing out there. And it seems super, super cool. And let's get into some beers.
Okay.
So we actually kind of like neglected beforehand. I got distracted to talk about the order. I imagine we'll start with the crispy. Is that the move?
Yeah, sounds good.
Hell yeah. So I got that right here. Tell us about the Pilsner.
Yeah, so we wanted something. So actually, that was my first choice too.
Nice.
There
we go.
Basically, we wanted something crisp and refreshing. And one thing that we, I guess, really wanted to do to make it, I guess, a little bit different, at least especially at the time, was we wanted something that had a little more of a citrus edge to it, not quite that traditional kind of bitterness, kind of like herbal and noble character. We want ours to be more like an American cast style Pilsner.
Okay.
Definitely, we focus on some of the new, hops out there. So Mosaic, Amarillo, Eldorado. These are all used in the whirlpool, and it really does kind of carry through to the final beer too.
Okay, so an American style Pilsner is just sort of the traditional Czech recipe, Czech recipe with those American hops. That would be the primary differentiator. Okay.
Yeah. So we use German Pilsner malt and that kind of stuff in there. The main thing is that we switch the hops using American hops.
Okay, and you said, sorry, this was Mosaic,
Amarillo, and Eldorado.
Okay, nice. And do you ever do? No, there's no dry hopping on this one.
Nope, no dry.
No dry hopping. Is that intentional, or was it sort of like, I guess that would take it out of?
Yeah, no, we did one time. So we kind of, as we were developing these beers, at one point we did do it and basically kind of tasted more like a pale ale, once you kind of dry hopped it, so it got away from kind of the crispy book character we're looking for.
Gotcha.
Nowadays we do a lot of dry hop pilsners, so it's kind of gone back a little bit. We could have changed process over time and made it better and that kind of stuff.
Okay, amazing.
No, really, this one we just love the way it is without the dry hop on it.
Gotcha. I love it. The nose is amazing, folks. Great to have you on. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yep, roast.
Cheers. Yeah, the nose is awesome. You can definitely get the hops there. Hell yeah. Yeah, that's definitely got that grassy bitterness that you usually get from like the noble hops. Was there any noble hops in this one, or was it straight?
No, just so the whole whirlpool is Mosaic, Amarillo, and Eldorado. We do a pretty decent whirlpool charge on there, so basically all the bitterness comes from the whirlpool.
Gotcha. That makes complete sense. That's pretty powerful. Like you can smell it. Almost smells like what I would consider like a dry hop pilsner.
Yeah.
I guess that's the difference. That's awesome. And who is Wilbo?
Yeah, so I can go into that. So I'm sure we'll get into like our location, and we have some history ties in our building. It's the former Boyle Racing headquarters in the 30s and 40s. The building that we're in was home to the Boyle Racing team, and Wilbur Shaw was 3-time winner of the Indy 500.
Okay. Oh my
and
gosh,
so we
Indy
named
500.
this pilsner for him in honor of his legacy.
That's very cool. I don't know why I never even thought of Indianapolis and then the Indy 500. What is, excuse my extraordinary ignorance, what is the difference between like Formula One and then the Indy? It's a different type of car, isn't it? Something like that? Like
Different
slightly
type of car, different drivers.
I think it's more about the fact that the Indy 500 goes around in a track, like an oval track.
Well, it's IndyCar. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
but then the like Formula One would be kind of turns and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, so it's like NASCAR in that way?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. They do NASCAR on the same track. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. I didn't realize that because I think Toronto has an Indy race as well, but I never realized because I'm from Melbourne, Australia. So we got the Formula One. I was in Montreal. We had the Formula One. So I was never really exposed to like the Indy. I'd heard of it, of course. But okay, that makes sense. So it's a pretty powerful thing for the city then. Like it's to the point that it resonated that you do.
Yeah.
It's like, I think we lived in Germany for a little while, and that's, if we said we were from Indiana, people would be like, oh, the Indy 500. Like we are definitely known for that here. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it's I'm not trying to divert too much on the car thing. I'm just curious. Is that like Daytona 500? Is that the same thing? Like it's like the same type of race, or is that not a thing? I know it's a song.
We are not going to claim to be like
experts on this.
Educated on all the races.
I won't go.
I think it's not IndyCar.
No.
Oh yeah, we shouldn't go in.
Okay, take it too far. I'm sure people.
We can talk about the history of the Boyle team in Indy and the significance of that with the race.
Gotcha. Cool. That's enough. Okay, perfect. No worries. But yeah, no, this is fantastic. This feels like totally on style. Is this like a flagship for you guys, or is it like a? It is, yeah.
Yep.
It's one we opened.
So yeah, I mean it's one of our house beers, and I would say like 3 of our house beers usually kind of tie for kind of the top, I guess, sold volume.
Okay.
So it's up there.
What are the other flagships?
The Riverside.
Okay, just the 2.
And the Hefeweizen.
Okay, so we're doing the 3. Oh, amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fantastic. When I came in, and I said to the bartender, all right, I got probably time for 1 beer, based on what time you close. Like, what do I need to have? And then he said the Riverside, so I was like, sweet. And that shit was killer. Okay, this is really cool because I didn't get to try anything else from you guys, and at the time it was like I had like 4 cases long because it had been like almost a 2-week trip, and I was like, I just didn't have the space to grab more to go, so I was kind of annoyed because I was like, oh man, I just discovered something that was fire. So this is like very cool now to get to sort of chat to you guys and explore the other styles. But this is fantastic. I really enjoy the hoppy features of this, like elevate it in separated, I guess, is elevate and separate is in. It still gives you that, like you drink it, you're like, oh, this is totally a Czech Pilsner, but it's so punchy, but without being, I know what you meant, Derek, when you said like it becomes like a pale ale if the dry hop's a little too heavy. So I feel like it like strikes a nice balance. It's like clearly different than a typical Czech Pilsner, but not over the top. So this is wicked, guys. Love it.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
Yeah, I love it too.
Yeah, I'm sure I can see why. It's a banger.
Well,
So
yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I was gonna
go,
say
go.
it's one we opened with. Like these house beers we're gonna go through, we opened with them on day one. Obviously we've updated them over time, but they were there from day one, from back in 2019.
That's actually always one of the questions when we get to that point as well. So I love to hear that the one, because it doesn't always happen that folks will open with
Yeah.
a particular brand or SKU, whatever, and then kind of maybe disappears or it kind of evolves to a totally different thing. So it's cool that you've got the still three guys going. That's wicked. So then let's get into the story. I'd love to hear it. I know you mentioned living in Germany, so I imagine this is probably a fun part of it. But yeah, excuse me, I'd love to hear how you both got into, craft beer, and then how that led to the brewery opening.
The brewery.
Sure.
Where to start?
For me, it started in college. So a couple years into college, one of my roommates had some brown bottles in his closet. At that point, I didn't even know like homebrewing was a thing. Like no concept at all. You can make your own beer, and so it was like a Mr. Beer Kit kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Oh, you guys seem to have muted. Oh no, you didn't. You completely stopped. No, I think we're good now. We're good. Okay. Kick back in. My bad.
I was going to school for engineering. A few years after that, I bought myself a Mr. Beer Kit because I wanted to give it a try. Brewed a couple batches, but that was also right at the point where I actually got a job offer to go over to Germany for a year. And that's really where it kind of all changed for me. So, I enjoyed beer before going over there, but it was definitely more the domestic stuff. Once I got over there, I had, a great German Hefeweizen, one of the first days I was there, and I fell in love.
Then you had one about every day.
Yeah. So we had a little too many of those over time, but.
What city did you guys end up in?
We were in Heppenheim for a few months, and then we were in Zwingenberg. They're like very small towns just north of Heidelberg, south of Frankfurt, on the Bergstrasse. We were in like wine country.
The wine town. Okay, is that considered Bavaria?
No, it was Hessen.
Yes. Okay, I don't know a ton about it. Okay, amazing.
Yeah, it's a couple hour drive, I think, from
like Munich or whatever.
Munich, yeah.
Gotcha.
That
okay,
was back in 2012.
2012. Okay, so decent. So you've been dabbling a little bit, but then this got you both pretty into it, like being in that beer culture of Europe. Was that?
Yeah, I mean, when we lived over there, we fell in love with like the culture around beer and the quality of it. And I mean, it's definitely obviously a unique place for beer, and we just enjoyed going to the pub and trying their Hefe or their pills that they had on, and they'd fly the flag out front of what they served.
Okay.
And then we came back like in 2013, and around the same time, my twin sister, so our co-owners and co-founders, it's my twin sister and her husband.
Gotcha. That's very cool.
And they moved out to Denver, and so they were experiencing the beer scene out there, where they would like hike in the morning, go to the brewery in the afternoon. It was like that sense of adventure paired with beer. And then around like 2014, 2015, we lived 2 streets apart here in Broad Ripple in Indianapolis.
That's
and that's where we really started homebrewing a lot. And it was more the guys homebrewing, but we were all, it was our houses. We were all there. So
getting to enjoy the spoils. How with the homebrews?
I mean, we enjoyed them. At least, we didn't do a lot of competitions or anything like that. It's mainly for our enjoyment. And funny thing is, as hop heavy as we are now, I pretty much just did multi beers when we were doing home brewing, at least up until the point where we decided we were going to open the brewery.
Right. What years were the home brewing around then? Was that like around 2013, 14 or something, perhaps, when you came?
Yeah. So, it started pretty steady about 2013 when we moved back. And it wasn't until, I guess,
we opened in 2019, so you homebrewed.
So maybe it was the entire time. But we really basically, when we were about, it took a long time to open. When we were about 3-4 years away from opening, we were basically brewing, a couple batches a week, just to try out new recipes and new ingredients and stuff like that.
Were you guys all home brewing for fun, or was it like, at what point, I guess, did it become like, hey man, we should the 4 of us should open something?
Well, Yeah, I mean, funny thing is, it was actually a podcast that kind of got my mind kind of rolling on thinking about opening, because we, even at that point, in that time frame, opening a brewery was just so intimidating. You saw all this big equipment, all this kind of stuff, and it is, you're like, there's no way, just a normal person could do that.
Right.
And then, I happened to listen to a podcast where it was like a nano brewery kind of opening, and obviously that's a tough way to start. But he talked about being able to open and, kind of the ways that he was able to save money and stuff. And suddenly it made a much more approachable idea to where I was like, maybe we could do something like this. And it just kind of evolved from there.
Yeah.
Go.
I'm just thinking back to that. It was at the same time that we were thinking of trying to start a family, and it was very intimidating, I guess.
Yeah,
but we all were in corporate jobs too, and so once we kind of planted the idea of trying to create something for ourselves and like put our skills and talents towards something that we could grow, not just an entrepreneurial thing, but like use as a platform for good, maybe grow something we really hand down to our kids, like that all planted a seed in our minds, and my sister and our brother-in-law's mind. And from that day on, it was like every single day to think about something until we opened like 5 years later. It was quite the road.
Yeah.
So it happened, it sounds like then pretty early into the homebrew journey that you all started to think seriously about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing it for a few years at that point. But basically, at that point, we talked and we decided we at least want to, start going down this road. And then once we did start going down that road, we said, okay, well, now we need to start perfecting all these recipes that we want to do. Because at least at that time, it was, basically everyone had a set of core beers. You open with that, and that's kind of what you soon are going to be your flagships. And so we knew we wanted to come out of the gate with, 5-6 really great beers that we just perfected over time.
Right. I love that. So then painting the picture around, like you said, 4 or 5 years before, if you opened 2019, so like 2014-ish, 2015.
Yeah.
What's the vibes in Indianapolis like? Like, was it, because I'm here in Canada. I've been here for 14 years. So I got here in 2010. So I did, and I had whatever, immigration was a nightmare. So I wasn't able to travel for a little bit. So I didn't get to really explore as much as I would have liked. So I'm curious if, like, when I lived in Montreal, we went to Vermont all the time once I could travel. And so, I got to know that scene. And even since we've been here, I'm pretty just right over the border of Buffalo. So I'm getting to know the Western New York scene, but I didn't get, like, sometimes as, different cities evolve in different speeds or in different ways. Like Michigan in general, like, just never really went that hard on the haze until like maybe during COVID. Like they would just like, there's like one brewery type of thing. So I'm curious what Indianapolis or the state in general, like, what was that looking like around the time you guys started to craft the recipes that you were thinking about for flagships?
A good question.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember coming back from Germany, and the idea of like a craft brewery was new.
Yeah.
At that time.
Yeah, at least in our city it was.
And we were coming out of college then too. I mean, that was a whole other beer scene.
Right. Definitely different.
But I remember coming back and like we toured a local brewery and we're like, this is pretty cool. And remember, I think it was Flat 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were there many at that time then?
Were there many?
No, really just a couple.
Okay.
It was before then. It was more of like a brew pub scene. So there were a decent number of brew pubs around, but not really like distributing breweries or packaging breweries.
Sun King was the biggest, and still is around here. I mean, they started in that like around 2010.
Yeah.
What'd you say? Sun King?
Sun King.
Sun King. Okay, I hadn't heard of them. Okay, so there really wasn't, aside from the being inspired in Germany, like you guys coming home and making your own stuff. Like, where did you get the inspiration from to try the different stuff? Like, was there enough of a variety at these local brew pubs that you could be like, try the the flavor wheel as such, all the different stuff to be inspired? Or did you go and buy packaged beer from stores from different places? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, I mean, some of it was for sure. Sister-in-law living out in Denver. They, even at that point, they had some good.
Yeah, they were killing
inspiration from stuff, but also like I listened to a ton of. Once I kind of dove deep into the brewing stuff, I really dove into all the brewing podcasts and stuff, and so all these breweries that I'd never even heard of before, I was listening to them on there. And some of the early ones that I kind of gravitated towards like Stone and Lagunitas. You know, they were the ones that were really putting out the good IPAs that you could actually get, you know, nationwide. And those kind of got me started a little bit. Then after that, it was, you know, kind of deciding what we, I guess, wanted in our beer. And then what we would do is, you know, maybe go to the store and see if we could find some similar beers in that style and be like, okay, you know, we definitely don't want it to be like this one, but hey, we like this part of this one. It helped us kind of craft what we maybe envisioned for our beers.
Interesting. I mean, that makes complete sense. That's a pretty sweet way to start. So then as you were crafting the home brews and you guys were trying different stuff and starting to get ideas and everything, like, did you have in mind, when I say, I mean, all four of you, did you all have like, oh, we want our brewery to be like this, like a German, obviously you've got the word house, Haus, for people who probably saw it on the thing anyway, but you know, you got that German word in there that's pretty obvious that that's some sort of an inspiration to what you're doing. Like, did you guys were like, oh yeah, we want a German style brewery, or because obviously you've got Killer Haze as well, which obviously is not very German. What did you have in mind when you guys were starting it out?
We, as you're saying that, we have our vision board out in our garage from when we made it back in 2015.
That's sick.
From the beginning, we knew what we wanted, and I guess that's a combination of like the tap room, like the experience in the tap room, drinking the beer mixed with the actual beer. We knew we wanted like it's kind of a loaded question, I guess, but like there's a house in our logo, and we always, and the house is in the name of our business as well. There you go. Yeah. So it's a little cabin with trees and a river and a little path. And so that we had that logo before we even opened. So we wanted, and I say that because we ended up opening in a house, but the cabin and house was always part of the feeling, like the inviting feeling we wanted to invoke, which was welcoming someone into, you know, kind of into our house, which is where the house part comes in our name. And we spelled it German to kind of give nod to our experience over there. So we knew we wanted to create an experience of people coming in to a welcoming gathering place with we have a lot of long community tables, which is like a nod to like the German beer halls, and then a lot of exposed wood and handmade wooden tables, a fireplace, which is nod to like kind of that outdoorsy experience that you might get in Colorado, combining those together and being able to get that experience in Indiana. So we knew we wanted to provide something like that. And then from the beer scene, that evolved over time. Yeah. From when we first started to when we opened and to what we do now. But it was always bold versions of traditional and modern styles. Okay. Is what we were going for.
Yeah. And that was, like I said, when we started off, that was the point in time where, you know, the color wasn't the critical part for us, but you know, you start with a stout, you wanted a light beer, you know, you want an IPA and, you know, a couple other things. And so I kind of made the range of what we're going for. And that was kind of deciding within each of those styles what we wanted to do.
Gotcha. Okay. So I like that bold versions of like modern styles. That's kind of the vibe I got too, looking at the like the board in the tap room as well. That was kind of the vibe, and looking at your social and everything. It was like, whilst I went there for the haze, it was pretty clear that it was like definitely felt, and there was multiple IPAs as well, of course, that's what you guys saying, but that was the bartender was like, yeah, you need to try the OG, which was smart. Did haze blow up in Indiana around the same time as sort of everywhere else? Like, I know it's sort of, we always try to get to the bottom of how it came about. Like, I was speaking to Sean Hill from Hill Farmstead, and he said he came up with it in 2010, essentially, which was like an iteration on the Vermont IPA, which was like the Alchemist and Lawson's. And then it kind of went from there. I think Treehouse was one of the early ones, and Trillium and stuff. And that was like, Canada didn't get it till 2016. And even then it was very few and far between. People were very hesitant because technically what haze is like a flaw in a beer, and people couldn't really get past that, which was funny. So America is obviously you guys started all the craft beer stuff. So typically you guys were very far ahead of everywhere that I'd been living. What was that timeline for like the haze, and when did you guys, so the timeline for the haze general in the state, but then also from your side, like when did you guys discover it and then decide to style. I imagine you homebrewed it as well beforehand. I'm assuming.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we honestly we were I think pretty late on that too because there
Okay.
is a lot of tradition in Indiana, and so I
Okay.
don't know that we really saw any hazies until probably 2017, 2018.
Okay, it's not that bad.
And even then, it wasn't. It was like one or two places maybe
Okay. Like
that
Michigan.
were doing them. And
Hmm.
so for us, I don't even think I had tried any local hazies before. We were like, you know what? There's this kind of this hazy thing going on in some other places. I'm curious to see what it's like. And so basically, we actually had a hoppy wheat beer that we were planning to open with. And one time we were like, let's just instead of using the traditional yeast we're going to use with it, let's try one of these new kind of hazy IPA yeast. And it was just, and for me, that was kind of a turning point for IPAs in my mind because I enjoyed them before, but once you started putting those kind of yeast strains in there with the modern hops, man,
That's Riverside.
and that's Riverside. That's how Riverside came about. It was going to be a hoppy wheat beer. It became much better as a hazy IPA.
That's sick. That's really cool, actually. That like I think you probably obviously you made a pretty good choice by doing that. Yeah. Interesting. So then, without hopping on it, I'm only bringing up the haze mostly just because that's once again what people were saying that you guys are the best at. So was that ever an intention to sort of be like, we're going to just really own this style in the city? Or was it kind of just your stuff happened to just be really good?
I mean, it's hard to say. We knew we wanted to do it real well. I guess since there weren't many other places doing it at the time, I guess we didn't know if it was going to blow up.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Certainly, it's possible that it would. We were at that point in time. When we opened, Indianapolis was already past like the line culture. Like there was nothing. Like no one was standing in lines for any beer releases or anything like that. So it wasn't going to be anything like that. But we knew we really enjoyed it and we wanted to offer it. And hey, if it basically caught on, awesome. We'd like to make more.
I would say it was like one of the beers you were most passionate about.
For sure.
So from day one when we opened, we had Riverside, and then we had our hazy, we call them NEPAs, but like hazy IPA number 2. And from then on, like that was on our grand opening day. And so
I say we even had a milkshake on, a strawberry milkshake.
Hell yeah. Oh yeah, it would have been very 2019.
Yeah. But like it was something we were always passionate about. You truly enjoyed them. You shifted a little bit more to like Pilsners and stuff.
Well, no, I mean, I still they're still my favorite style to make, just because the expression of hops that you can get from those hazy IPAs is just incredible. You can't beat it. So that got me started on the hops, but then all the stuff we're able to do nowadays just kind of keeps it going.
Gotcha. Yeah, you're right though. It is like the funnest thing to play with because it feels like there's a little more room to move and there's a little less like tradition and like rules around stuff. Like I don't know if you guys happen there, but people used to get so mad here about lactose in beers. So mad. I loved it. I enjoyed it because I didn't discover beer the way you guys did. I felt like I came to it sort of casually and started just exploring craft beer in like 2010 2011 in Toronto specifically. So if I discovered it in Germany or really got into it like you guys, I might have been a little more rigid with like, no, beer needs 4 ingredients. But like seeing the purists get so fucking mad all the time about milkshake IPAs,
we're not very pure. I mean, we'll stick to we have our traditional beers like our Hippovites, and it's completely traditional, but one of our like core values from the like onset was that we don't have to stick to style standards because it allows the beer to be more bold and taste better if you don't always have to stick within a box. And we always kept that mindset.
Yeah. I think the one thing that we do focus on though is using real ingredients. We don't use extracts or concentrates or artificial flavorings, none of that kind of stuff. So anything you taste in our beers is from that actual ingredient.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, and you know what? You're right, Courtney, on that. Like immediately you were drinking an American style Pilsner with a total different hop approach, but like taste wise, you can tell it's like very much rooted in that tradition, but you put a twist on it, which is sick. And then I don't know. I think that's just fun. I like fun in beer. People take beer way too serious, eh? You're getting drunk, like just have fun with it, make something cool. Okay, so the lead up to fight. So then let's talk about the area and stuff. So then you brew, you guys are home brewing, you got the four of you, you're getting serious, you're dialing in recipes, even on a homebrew scale, to probably just figure out which ones you want to go with. Where do you start to think about to have the brewery? Like, was that like, is it obvious immediately? Was that a bit of a challenge? Because I know it can be a fair pain in the ass to find a place that's zoned right, and then the city has to da. Like, how did that go for you guys?
We started looking in, well, we spent 2015, I'd say, the whole year writing our business plan. And we
Nice.
lived in like the Broad Ripple area, which is a very like walkable, coffee shops and restaurants to walk. So we started looking in that area too, because that's what we knew. We went to
Right.
school here, we stayed here in Indianapolis, and then we started looking in Broad Ripple for something like smaller than what we ended up in. And then one day, I mean, sometimes things just happen for a reason. So we had a meeting with like a connection in the industry. And through that, this person knew of a group of vintage racing enthusiasts looking to save a historic building from complete city demolition. We're like, interesting. We didn't necessarily have any ties to the racing industry at that time, but we wanted to go see the spot. So in 2016, I think it was like January 1st, 2016, we went and looked at this location just northwest of downtown Indianapolis. And I mean, it was a wreck. It's a huge building, way bigger than we ever imagined. It was beautiful in its own right, but all the windows broken, like no ceiling, skylight falling down. I think we drove by and we're like, well, this is it, right?
Wow.
This is it as far as like, this is what we're looking at today, but then maybe this is our home long term. And so I like to say our visions align. There was a group of racing, like I said, enthusiasts that were trying to save this historic building that had a lot of significance. So it was home to the Boyle racing team in the 30s and 40s. Wilbur Shaw, who I mentioned the Pilsner's name for, was 3-time winner of the 500, and that was his racing garage. Wilbur went on to be the president of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and saved it from being turned into a subdivision like around World War II. And so his significance to what the Speedway is today is huge. And so this building was going to be completely torn down. I mean, it was insane, honestly. But they needed a tenant to go into the space as like a revenue anchor to help bring this vision to life of saving the legacy of the headquarters. And over time that evolved and changed, but and we can get to what it is today, but there's a big piece of that in our tap room today. But that's kind of how we came and we saw the location. We have pictures of him like standing in this pile of rubble. And he literally at the time was saying the canning line will go here. and this is our event space. And we could see it all, which was kind of the cool thing about it is our vision was very clear and we all had the same vision. So
yeah, there weren't even walls on like half of it.
I mean, it was crazy. Yeah.
Jeez, you're painting a good picture. This sounds horrendous.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. I mean, it's like ivy growing in these like old 1935 windows. Like,
wow.
My sister, she takes all of our photos now. She took some amazing photos of the building, and we have them throughout the tap room today too.
That's sick. That's really cool. So then, okay, so you're saying that was January 2016, and then if you opened in 2019, I imagine at what point did you like sign the lease?
Oh, legalities.
Yeah, I mean, it gets a little tough. Basically, the idea was we were going to basically build a building as you saw it, that full building. But there's just so much kind of that we ran into over time that eventually we're like, you know what, this big building is going to take forever to get open. And so there happened to be a smaller house on the property that was connected to the building originally, through a carport area. And so we basically all right, let's, we can start small. Let's just start small. We'll open up in the house. We'll basically get going in there while we're getting this big building figured out.
Huh.
And so even that renovation for the house, I don't know, it took probably a year.
No, it took longer than that. It took at least a year and a half.
Yeah,
if not
a long time.
Okay. So renovated the house, and I guess you got the lease. I guess what I'm saying, like, you probably didn't like let it slide for too long. The fact that you guys are both saying that we could see where things went. That's a pretty cool sign. Sounds like my girlfriend and I big into the universe vision boards. We do the same thing. So if you're saying that, I imagine that you're just like, all right, well, if you can walk into a space and be like, this is it, then you're like, all right, this is for us, right? So then. That's pretty sick. So you probably would have got the lease almost immediately and then being like, all right, let's just get this going.
Yeah, but yes, it was just like a much bigger project when you bring in like this historical aspect of it and then the environmental aspect of it, because over time the land it wasn't just a racing shop. It was like it had many other industrial features, and it was like right next to what was it, a dry cleaners or something at the
like
time.
a machine shop.
So part of it was a brownfield, so there was a lot of environmental factors that we had to like and hurdles to get through and financing. So as much as yes, we were ready to just like make it happen, we had to work through some other things as well.
Yeah, I mean even even like rezoning on it took like a year.
Yeah.
Nothing just on its own.
Nothing was fast.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
But
it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is a 1916 two-story home, and we ended up and then we opened May 23rd, 2019. That was our soft opening. Official opening was like June 15th, 2019. And we brewed in the basement of this two-story house for 2 years. Wow. And the main floor was our tap room. We had some seating in the basement. And he got a lot of steps going, milling on the top floor, bringing it down to the basement over and over and over. And then COVID hit, but
Of course. Yeah, you probably got like, if you're saying May, you got like 7 months, 8 months, a little longer maybe, and then boom. Okay.
Yep.
That's pretty sweet. Okay, let's how you guys feel about the next beer? You guys still going? We can pull. Yeah.
I'm still sipping on mine, but you guys go for it.
Yeah, and
we can wait.
No, you're okay.
Well,
I pace my.
Yeah, you're fine to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and I'll probably do it too. Small business ownership, of course. I had to sprint out of the brewery at the end of the day to refill 3 oxygen tanks on the way to go pick up my 2 boys from school. So I didn't grab anything else besides I have a Riverside from my fridge that I'm not sure how long it's been in there for.
Okay.
But I'll go for it.
So I didn't even ask what we want to do. We want to do Riverside? Or we want to do Hefeweizen?
I don't have a Hefe. You can do the Hefe if you want right now.
Okay. I got the 4.
Sure.
So you just tell whatever I should do, you tell me. It's done.
Sure. I'll open the Riverside now. We can start there.
Riverside? Perfect.
Yep.
Beautiful. Okay. This is the big boy. Let me show that one here. All right. So here we go. There we go. And then we'll keep the story going. Oh, that's sick. What's that thing on the front there?
So that's the Taggart Memorial. Riverside is named for the neighborhood that our brewery is in.
Oh, I did remember seeing that. Okay.
It's the White River is in the neighborhood, and that is the Taggart Memorial. That is just over in Riverside Park. It's like a mile and a half from the brewery.
Damn, that looks fire. Is it big? Looks pretty big.
It's pretty big. It actually has since we made that in the last 2 years, it's been renovated into an outdoor auditorium.
Oh, nice.
And theater. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's fun. Now talked about this beer. So this is the one I had on tap, and so it's 6.9. I think I saw just quickly there. Is that correct?
Yep.
What's the deal? What's the hops in this bad boy?
Yeah. So this one, I don't know, maybe call it an over complex homebrew beer to start with, kind of.
Okay.
It I think the original dry hop had 6 or 7 different hops in it.
Oh wow. I see what you mean.
And the idea at the time was, basically if there's any changes in one hop, it's not going to affect, the overall flavor as much as if it was like only one hop in that beer, or only 2 hops or something.
Gotcha.
And so that's kind of how it started. Basically it's very wheat heavy. I think it's come down a little bit over time, but still close to 50% wheat or so in there. So that's how it started. So it was originally going to be a hoppy wheat. It happened to also be a perfect recipe for a hazy IPA.
Okay, which is
and it's evolved a little bit over time as some hops have gotten a little better, some hops have gotten worse, and so that's changed a little bit too.
Gotcha. Love it. Here for it, guys. Cheers.
Yeah, prost.
Cheers again.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's super bright, aromatic, wicked body, super creamy. It's got a nice little, like a little bit of like grassy bitterness in there, like a little pinch to kind of balance it out. Super tropical. Wicked. This is great. This is a really solid flagship. Like it's a really like particularly like I like going to a new brewery and trying like the flagship to see like this is what they sort of hang their hat on. And I feel like it's I was about to say it's not like the most common for usually the breweries that would have like haze as a flagship would probably not would almost be like a haze focused brewery as opposed to like a brewery that does a bit of everything. Like you guys wouldn't always like run with that, if that makes sense. So I think it's extra cool that you do this.
Yeah, well, I think we love all these other different styles that we make, and we didn't want to just be one thing, I guess, either.
Yeah.
Or limit ourselves. And so while I love making these hazies, and that's really what we get to kind of do the most experimentation with. We also love making these other kind of bolder traditional styles too.
We like having something for everybody.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty important, particularly like larger space like yourself. I felt like I saw like, I know we're sort of skipping ahead there, but like also I like going to tap rooms and seeing sort of everybody, as in all different cultures, genders, sexuality, like everything. Because it's like it's weird when you go into a brewery and the joke we always use is white dudes with beards. So it just seems like monoculture inside a place where like beer is for everybody. And I felt that I remember looking around because it was at the end of the night. There was still like a lot of people there. It was, do you remember what night? Like a Thursday or something. And I was impressed because I didn't have any gauge. Like we just had sort of got into Indianapolis in like it was the evening, so I didn't get to really see the people until the next day, like cruising around the city and seeing the city a bit and getting coffee and stuff. So it was cool to be like, all right, I feel like America's much better than that. Canada's still a little got a ways to go as far as like everybody in there, but I feel like it's just like it was a cool vibe. So point being is it definitely felt like there was something for everybody in there, which is very cool. The excuse me if I missed when you said this, but so there's 8 hops in here. That you guys like switch it up ever, or is it kind of like a medley that you keep running?
Yeah, so we've made some changes over time. The kind of core focus on this is we want to have kind of that bright kind of citrus character to it. Can lean in some pineapple, can lean in some grapefruit, that kind of thing. So that's kind of the main goal of it. But the hops we used to get there have changed a little bit over time.
Gotcha.
And some of it is, it started honestly when we first were making this. It was even like at the very beginning of even like when Citra was kind of becoming available. And so before that, it was using some hops like Cascade and Centennial and Chinook, and some of those are a little bit harder to work into these hazy IPAs, at least on a consistent basis, depending what lots you get.
Yeah,
so we've been able to evolve a little bit over time, especially as we've the last 2 years now. This will be our 3rd year, I guess, of being able to do hop selection, and so it's really changed kind of not the recipe itself, but like our hop experience has really changed, since we've been able to do that for sure.
That's awesome. Do you do the Yakima? The Yakima hop selection? Yeah. I know that the other one was the freestyle, like the New Zealand hops and stuff, do it at CBC, I believe. Oh, it's in Indianapolis next year, I heard.
Yes.
So convenient.
We actually, we love freestyle stuff too. So
are you coming? Do you go to CBC?
No, I've never been. One of my favorite haze producers here is a friend. I was telling him about you guys actually. He's like, yeah, I'll check him out when I'm in Indianapolis in April. I'm like, oh, what are you going down for? He's like, CBC. I'm like, oh shit, okay. I had no idea. I don't know. I wouldn't mind. I wonder if is it like a conference? Because there's the one here, like the provincial one, which would be the same if there was like an Indiana Brewers Guild. It's like the Ontario Craft Brewers. So we my girlfriend and I have a social media agency, so we ran like a conference session on social media and stuff like that for breweries, and so it was like a conference, and then there was parties at night. Is it the same type of thing, or is it? I don't really know much about it. I just assume.
Yeah, it's like a giant expo floor with all
trade,
everything you can think of.
Yeah, and then lots of workshops and
seminars, and then there's
and then parties at night.
Yeah, basically.
Gotcha. So same thing. Okay. Yeah. I wonder if I should always reach out. I wonder if they do media passes or something. It would be fun to just.
I think they do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Because it's not that far. Like from here, it's pretty reasonable. I think it was like 7 hours from here to Indianapolis. And I was like, once again, we only got there like real quick, and I just feel like it was like a little bit screwed, like not screwed out of the experience. But I want to see more. Like it's never enough when you go to a place for like a night,
Yeah.
and you really didn't get to soak it up and
Mhm.
sort of understand what it's like. A super beautiful city too. By the way, the downtown was really pretty.
Yeah.
Super cool. Love it. Okay, this is fantastic, and this is year round too, right? This be if people want to get it. Okay, just to let people know. So both the Pilsner and this bad boy, they can go and fetch. Love it, love it. All right, so we're talking about the 2-story house at the back, brewing in the basement, main floor, tap room, milling upstairs. So you guys were brewing out of that from 2019, whilst you, because I guess you probably when you were renovating the house, did you do anything to the big area, like the big facility, or did you not just let that chill while you were?
That was like always a constant like project and check in on progress. Yes.
Gotcha.
So as the main thing was going, we I'm like trying to think back. At that time, him and I were both full-time brewery. We both got our like, good corporate jobs. And we were full-time brewery. And then my brother-in-law and sister-in-law were still working their other jobs.
Okay.
Until the day that we found out we had to shut down for COVID, which was actually our brother-in-law's final day at his actual job, which was insane. But during all of that time, we were still working on the plans for the building next door.
Gotcha. So it was more in the planning stage. You could still operate out of the house and keep that cruising. And then,
oh yeah,
when COVID happened, was that? I mean, obviously, it was difficult for everybody, but for you guys, were you already packaging out of the house? No. Oh no.
No.
Well, we memories.
We were doing like,
sorry guys.
We were doing like plastic bullets, like 32-ounce bullets is what we call them, like plastic growlers basically, but like a 32-ounce size.
Okay.
Like a crowler size, I guess.
I haven't seen them. Okay.
But those worked really well for us. But then, like, obviously, that was not going to be enough. Courtney can go into all the online ordering and stuff that we did, but basically, we had to do a quick switch to cans, and we actually
we've been working on that. That would just happen to be they were like our labels were ready in April, and we had to shut down in March, so the timing worked out okay.
But yeah, we didn't have a canning line at the time. And since we're in the basement, like we couldn't even have like a mobile canner come. None of that stuff was an option. So we basically had to. I set up a good way of like purging cans and filling them like at our draft system, like our taps. And so we would, come in and fill like 1,000 cans from the faucet.
Wasn't that the October steamer?
Yeah, we used an October steamer, and we did that for months until
like one at a time. Like one can at a time.
Yeah, one can at a time.
and that's when, so COVID. So we opened in May of 2019,
right?
And then we talk about stress of like that's fine that our kids are like out of school. It was just like insane. And then March we had to shut down, and then we switched within like a few days to an online ordering platform to where people could come and pick up our beer because it meant obviously no inside seating or anything like that, but we could do pickup outside.
Okay.
And the first day we did pickup, everyone was like looking to support local, which was amazing. And we didn't really know what to expect. And we did like a milkshake release. And this had been the single hand. We put mail labels on each one, a 4-pack. And somehow there was a line down the street to come and pick up these pre-orders that people did. So we knew it was working. And then each week we got a little bit better. We had like numbered numbers we put in our parking lot so people could pull up. And I guess what would they do? They text us or something. They'd call us when they would arrive and say, I'm in parking spot number 14. And they'd give us their name and we would bring their order out to them.
Wow.
And so we worked on that system until we were able to open back up and we had outdoor seating then for over a year with no indoor seating until we opened our main space. So we had it
must have been cold though, right? Like you guys get pretty serious winters, I imagine.
Yeah.
One of the coolest things that I've heard, and it meant a lot, and when people still tell us this like today, it's pretty cool, that we were like a safe place for people to come during COVID. So we opened back up with outdoor seating, I think in May of 2020.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, but even when it was in the colder times, which I guess would have been, I don't know, it all blends together. People would come in their ski outfits and sit outside. Like they would bike down or like come and they'd be bundled up sitting outside in the middle of winter. But to them, it was a safe place. They could come. All of our tables were measured 6 feet apart, like, and you were outside anyways. So it was really cool that we could offer that to people. And then after that, we were able to open then in June of 2021 with the new indoor space, the space that you saw.
Gotcha. And that's awesome about that outdoor. I think that's really, really cool. Because not every place allowed that. I don't even, like you said, it's a blur. I can't remember. Now, as you were saying that, I'm like, yeah, it is a blur. I don't remember shit. But I don't know if we were allowed. They were a little stricter up here, so I don't recall if they were allowed to open up patios and stuff. But I was thinking of like potential upside is that without sort of that crazy distraction, were you guys able to kind of heads down, let's just get this bad boy done, like the rest of it? Like did that allow, would it have taken longer if things didn't change or if COVID didn't happen? I mean,
I don't think it would have taken longer. I think that it allowed us to create a base. You know, we opened small. We were an unknown brewery, obviously, when we opened, but we were able to create like a fan base, and people that were there to support us like from day one were there when we opened the bigger space, which allowed us to, I don't know, make it work when we opened this. How big a square foot?
Yeah, basically hit the ground
square
running.
feet. Yeah, we were able to hit the ground running.
Jesus. Yeah, right. So you'd already sort of gathered that sort of community goodwill from that first year normal, or almost, no, just under a year, 10 months normal times, then another year or so of crazy times. And then be able to sort of, you know, like you said, felt people really enjoyed the space. They knew they could come there, drink great stuff, support local, obviously, which was one of the other big upsides. And like, not every place, like in Montreal and Quebec, they love the local stuff. It's like a real thing, but not every place is like as focused on it. But I feel like one positive side effect of COVID would it really show people the importance of small local businesses, and like, don't go to Walmart if you can get it from somewhere local, even if it costs more. Who cares? Because those people are your neighbors and they're supporting the community type thing. I think that was dope. So the 20,000 square feet is large. That's pretty big. And it was a big space. So maybe we should talk about the space a bit then, because I remember we parked out front. Was there a parking lot that I didn't see there? Must be around the side.
We have two. Yeah. Oh. One's paved and then one's like a overflow.
Totally must have missed it. It was pretty dark. So I parked like right in front of the door. So it's pretty sweet. And then I remember once you walk in, to my right was from what felt like a cafe that was closed. And I guess we can get into that as well. Is that correct?
Which door did you come in? Like
the street door. So whatever street the main door from the street side. I didn't notice another door, but I'm not a very observant person.
We have a lot of doors.
Okay.
Yeah. We have our whole beer garden that has like 4 doors on it as well.
So there's probably not a very good explanation. So the street side is where I came in, and there was some sort of closed area that was being cleaned at the time. Once again, it was like 15 minutes before closing. Yeah. And I think that was the cafe, at least on the street side. Is that right?
On the street side. So if you walk in our main entryway, on the right side, you have our fest hall, which is our big event space, which is there's a private bar in there, like a big screen.
Maybe that's what it is.
Handmade tables. And then to the left is, the tables might look like cafe tables, but that's our Boyle Racing Garage. And there's like a historic 1934 Diamond T restored race car hauler in there. That was where that's like our tribute to the Boyle Racing team. There's a lot of memorabilia in there. And then you walked in through the doors and it said like, welcome to Guggman Haus at the top. And then that's the main tap room space.
Okay. So I'm finding some pictures online here to see if I can visualize it. Okay. Looking at, the one on the street, that's the door I went in. The one under the big Guggman Haus Brewing logo, that's the door I went in.
Yes. Yeah.
So to the right, is that the event space or is that the one with the car in it?
To the right's the event space.
That makes much more sense. Okay, sick. And then I just went straight. I don't remember seeing a car. Am I blind or did I? You
have had to like look, because it's actually by the front wall. So you have had to look backwards and back towards the front of the building.
And if it's late, there's a chance they have the lights turned off in there.
Yeah.
Ah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Sick. I wish I had a better memory. I'm so bad. Okay. I remember. Oh, the fireplace. I remember seeing the fireplace up by the bar. Yeah, and the long tables. Fire. Yeah, and the walls with people who are doing this. You Google and check. But yeah, the welcome to Guggman Haus Brewing with the cool mural on there. That was fire. I remember that for sure. Okay, I see now. Seeing the building from oh, that's the house on the outside with all the. Oh, it's got the little veranda. That's cute. I love that.
It is pretty cute.
I'm pissed I didn't get to see all this. Okay, it means I have to come back. Okay, and the beer garden at the back is massive too. I see. I get you. Okay, so the tap room was it's pretty damn big, and it was I can see a lot, the German style stuff. Do you have a kitchen?
We do have a kitchen. Yeah,
Okay.
and so you would have passed that. It's right to the right of the bar.
I did remember seeing that pass on the way to the restrooms and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw that. Okay, so and once again, I think it was wrapped up at the time. So then, the food that you guys are doing, is that German inspired at all? Or was it kind of like more modern, like the beers, like bit of everything?
So our kitchen's been like a revolving learning curve, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I bet.
So we do a lot of, especially during busy times, it's a walk-up window. So you order at the window and then you get a number and we bring it to you. So
Perfect.
during a lot of busier nights, like we've had to figure out what works well to do in almost, it's not, but like almost even like an elevated concession style, because it's just like that line can get so long and you're trying to make something that is super high quality, obviously, and fresh and stuff, but get to the table in a fast time. So over time, we've just trying to figure out what works the best. So I think we started out with like, what could we have on the menu that is German inspired? We were even nominated for like best German food this year, which is hilarious because we do not focus on that at all. But when we first opened, we did have like potato pancakes, and we've always had like a German bratwurst with sauerkraut on it. But we were a little more German focused on the food in the beginning, and we've had to evolve it over time, and we still are. Like we'll be rolling out a newer menu early 2025.
What's that going to look like?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
But yeah,
Right.
so we're gonna bring back some favorite. Like we have a schnitzel that we took off for now, but that'll be going back on. We're looking at things like different maybe bowls, like orange chicken bowl or like rice bowl. We're looking at different things right now, but it all comes down to like how fast our team can put together like something really delicious and make the wait times not high, because we don't have. It's not like a brew pub where you have table service. The only table service is to when we bring it out.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay, one funny thing about that too is we serve a German style pretzel also. And we were in the house. The only way we had to make food was like a little toaster oven thing.
Mhm.
And so for people who, or I guess for breweries who want a small food option, that actually worked out pretty good. But we put thousands of pretzels through this tiny like little toaster oven.
Tiny little toaster oven. Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
it is an option if you need some sort of food option at your brewery.
There you go. It's a good tip. It is a good tip. Those ovens are affordable, and who can go wrong with a nice little crispy pretzel with some mustard? Yeah. Oof, yeah, that made me hungry. Okay, sick. So, yeah, the tap room is awesome. You got a bunch on tap. Like there must have been like at least a dozen taps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we can go up to, kind of low 20s in the number of actual different beers we can have on. And it just varies because we do a ton of small batch stuff too. So we have in our space, we have a 2-barrel, a 5-barrel, and then now we actually just came online a new 20-barrel system. And so, we're always putting beers through our 2-barrel system, our 5 barrels. And so it basically, we could have 24 beers on tap, 1 week, and suddenly, 3, let's say 5 or 6 of those are gone by the next week because they were small batches. And then suddenly you look around, you have 12 beers only on tap when you had 24 on.
We haven't been down to 12 in a long time.
I know, but
yeah.
it can happen if things just time out just right.
Gotcha. That's pretty sick. That's a lot of potential. I love that. From just being able to offer that variety and stuff. And I think it's probably, like you said originally, like something for everybody, which is sick based on the size of the tap room as well. And like it felt like the type of place that you could there was no pretension at all, and it was just more like, hey man, come in, just chill, there's a table, just yap, and there's something, whatever, you'll find something you like. I like that a lot. I think that's like, And it's cool that you got the small batch. That's why I was like tossing up. I was like, oh, should I try it? That's why I said to the dude, like, what should I go? And I liked that there was still like the flagship was as fire as I imagined the rest of the small batches.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the coffee side, can you guys break that down for me? Because I didn't really look into that too much. Once again, it was in the evening, and love to hear about that because I think coffee and beer are just such like good friends.
Yeah. So we have the house, right? We moved out of it in 2021. And then we do private events. So we have 3 different private event spaces. We rent out the fest hall, the boil garage, and then the house. So the house we'd have private events in there, like, I don't know, maybe 4 times a month. And so it wasn't getting much love, but it was sitting there on our property. You know, we're already paying for it, but it just needed a purpose. And so from the beginning, I think we always kind of thought it feels like that cozy space. You could, if you're not enjoying a beer there, you could enjoy a cup of coffee. And so over the last year and a half, we decided like that would be its purpose. And so we opened the coffee house in this past May.
Okay, so it's fresh.
It's very fresh. So you're able to get a delicious cup of locally roast. We don't roast our own coffee, but we partner with other local roasteries. A good cup of coffee or like a specialty latte. Meet with friends or have a work meeting, and you can either end it there or you can go over to the tap room because most days they cross over with hours that are open, and you know you can have lunch and then a work meeting in the afternoon. You could really spend all day at Guggman Haus. It's my marketing pitch.
I love that. Maybe that's the episode name. You could spend all day here. I'm gonna write that down.
Yep.
So then the cafe, can you drink beer in the cafe?
We have a few beer taps. It's definitely more coffee focused, but if someone comes in and it makes sense for them to have something before we open the main tap room, then we're able to serve them out of the few taps that we have there.
That's awesome. That's I was picturing as you were describing it. Did you guys I was thinking of like the basement and all the equipment. Did you pull the equipment and put that in the main space?
Yeah. So that's where we did get rid of a decent amount of it because it was a 2-barrel system that we had down there.
Pretty small.
We had a couple of those and a bunch of 2-barrel fermenters. We got rid of all the fermenters basically, but we kept the 2-barrel system along with, I think we had 2-barrel unit tanks that we wanted to keep as part of the system, and so those moved over, but everything else, was sold or
Gotcha. Is that like the small batch system then? That's what you. That's smart to keep that. Okay.
Basically, it's the right number of fermenters where we could basically every week we could almost do a 2-barrel batch through there.
Okay, that's fun. I like that. And then did you make the basement floor into like more seating for the cafe?
Yeah, in the beginning when we opened half of the basement, we brewed on half the basement, and then the other half it's like seats for about 15 to 20, and we have that now too.
Gotcha. Yep. That's sick. Okay, so it's really making use of the whole space and turning it into like a community hub of sorts, essentially.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and it was really close to downtown, like 10 minutes type of thing. Is that fair? Yeah.
Yeah, at most 10 minutes, just a couple miles.
That's awesome. And is it once again? I didn't get to see the area in daylight. Is it sort of like a what's the area called again?
So the neighborhood that we're in is Riverside.
That's right.
The northwest side of Indianapolis.
Northwest. So is that like a residential-ish area? Was it industrial? I think you mentioned like some plant, like the different plants and stuff around you. So potentially it's an industrial type of thing. So it's a destination.
The small pocket that we are in is kind of an industrial spot. There was a manufacturing place, just to our west. Just to the south was a machine shop. And there's a couple other warehouses really close that I think a couple of them aren't being used anymore. So it's not a heavy use area now for industrial, but it was at the time.
Gotcha. I was more just thinking of like, is it like walk by traffic or is it sort of like destination?
There's some area just northeast of where we are that there's actually some newer builds that are coming in to some of the vacant land that was there. Nice. So we've seen a little bit more walking traffic, and we're that's been kind of cool to see.
Yeah, but it's always been more of a destination spot for sure. There wasn't a whole lot of residential around when we opened. It's really more of a recent thing.
Okay, so it's a lot of potential though in the future if they're doing new builds like condos or whatever.
Yeah,
Tons of
the potential is definitely there, but for that overall made sense because we already had the house was already part of our property, so we just needed to give it a life.
Totally, I love that. I think it's sick. I feel like breweries, destination breweries is totally, excuse me, like a normal thing. People drive out of the way to go to breweries all the time, but even though it's so close from the city, it's more like you've set up a place where you could rock up and you can just post up for, like you said, all day, which is cool. I like that a lot. From I've heard people really talk about the challenges of hospitality right now with sort of like things to get people to stay if you really want to look at the marketing of things. And like I feel that you guys have definitely like added multiple layers onto that, from the food to the coffee to the different, say if it's July, you got multiple spaces, the beer garden, the inside, the cafe to drink, to do all of that stuff. It's pretty sweet. I like that. You guys have got a pretty cool setup, and sounds like it's really maximizing the available land, I guess, in the property. Yeah, it's fire. I like that a lot. That's really cool. Was that like something that did that just happen organically, or were you sort of like, you guys were like, all right, we gotta really try and like?
I mean, it's funny you say the maximizing, because that was kind of like our theme for the last 2 years. Was like, we have such a big space that we're in now. How do we maximize it? Like, how do we look for low-hanging fruit opportunities? How do we take what we have right here and make the most out of it? So that's kind of what led us to that. Is just, it made sense to do.
Yeah, we love coffee.
It's fueled our business.
It's something we've always enjoyed. And so it's something that we, I guess, had always maybe pictured a little bit, but I guess it was never like a clear, hey, let's do this, until it kind of presented itself a little more.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's sick. I did notice, like I said earlier, I'm a big coffee person as well, and I found it pretty, like, I'm pretty particular with the cafes. Like, it's just like with breweries. There's like, I don't know if you guys are into like third wave coffee. It's always like the same thing in the best possible way. Like, if you want to identify one, it's always got usually open ceilings. There's wood, there's metal, there's plants typically, and they always have like latte art. You can always just tell. You check out their Instagram, like, yeah, sick. And it was pretty, like, I felt like Indianapolis was really easy, like, to find a lot. It was difficult to choose which one to go to explore the city a little bit and see what's going on. So I like seeing I like hearing that sort of alignment with coffee and beer. I feel like it's supernatural to sort of be around each. A cafe can often feel, like you said, warm, cozy. It feels like like a nice brew pub feels like a cafe. You go to a brew pub a lot of times and there's someone sitting there with a pint and a computer doing their thing with their headphones, as opposed to a cafe, which is sick. Would you guys consider roasting, or is it sort of a little like that's like a whole thing that?
I think we might have a hobby, like maybe an interest someday to do that, but our bread and butter is still but beer. And then we rely on the local experts, the local roasting experts, and we'll gladly support their small business. So
love that.
Someday maybe as a hobby, but not part of our business plan at this point.
Not yet. Yeah, there's a lot of other things to worry about. Do you guys ever work with the roasters as far as like collaborations, like, take the beans, chuck it in a stout or something like that?
Yeah. Actually, one of our Tinker Coffee, they're located just across the street from us, like a block over, and they're a large roastery, and so they helped us get up and going with like finding some of the right equipment and that kind of thing.
Tinker.
And we use their coffee all the time in our coffee stouts.
Tinker. Yes.
Tinker. Yep. Tinker Coffee Company.
Interesting. I must have come across this one. It looks familiar. Okay, sick. That's pretty sweet. So then you guys sort of work with them, and have you done any, like, do you guys have a barrel program?
Yep. Yeah. So we basically got to where about 50 barrels were filled about the beginning of this year. We haven't filled more since then. We will, basically, as winter comes along, we'll start filling some barrels again. So we filled about 50 barrels up to now. And then basically, if you're asking about kind of the coffee with those two, yeah, we do that a little bit. We actually entered. I don't know if you ever go to Fobab or heard of Fobab.
No, what's that?
It's a festival of barrel aged beer. It's hosted in Chicago each
Okay.
year. We're not gonna be able. We didn't have the time for it this year, but last year we actually entered one of our beer, two barrel aged stouts in there, but one of them was a coffee version that we love to. So coffee works great with barrel aged beers, especially if you can get on the little kind of bigger, sweeter side.
Yeah. Hell yeah. So you have 50 barrels right now?
Yep.
Sick. That's a pretty decent pro. That's nice. That's like a nice a lot of options.
Yeah. Yeah. We built up over time. You know, it's been easier to fill barrels than it has to have found time to empty the barrels and bottle them by hand, that kind of stuff. So we made it a lot easier to fill them. Now we're going to hopefully this next year, now we have our new system online, get a little more time to actually be able to use some of those barrels now.
Okay. What have you guys done traditionally? Like, is it like single barrels? You doing blends? Is it
Yeah.
all imperial stouts? Is it some like sours or something?
Yeah, so almost all of them are kind of big imperial stouts.
Nice.
And up to this point, it's basically all been single barrel releases.
Okay.
So we basically will taste through a handful of barrels, be like, this is it. This is what we want for this time. And then so we'll release it just on its own. You know, eventually we'll get into some blending and stuff. But for now, the single barrels worked out great.
Sick. I mean, I feel like that's like a pretty efficient way just to get it out.
Yeah.
Single barrels are sweet, and I guess blends are fun too. It's a bit more of a whole thing, but yeah, that's sick. How many, I guess, in the 5 years, like approximately, is it like, do you do multiple releases per year, or is it like
I mean,
just occasional?
ideally, yeah. So we'll always do kind of a bigger one around Black Friday. We might do
Nice.
another one like around Christmas, and then for sure we'll do some for like our anniversary, maybe Oktoberfest. It's just been hard to fit more in up to this point. Like we
Yeah.
know we could, or at least we know we have people that would enjoy it, and we would enjoy putting them out. It's just been hard to get the time.
Totally. And I guess it's good because if you're doing a single barrel release, it's like how many bottles you get out of that? A couple hundred?
Yeah, I mean, we try and basically have about 2/3 of a barrel for the tap room, 1/3 for bottles, and so we get somewhere in the range of 100 to 120
Oh
bottles
wow.
that
Okay. Oh
we'll
yeah, of course.
release
Kegs.
from that. Yeah.
What size do you guys do?
So the bottles are about, I
22.
think they're 22. Yeah, it's a special shape. It's a 20 or 22
Okay.
ounce bottle.
Okay. That's cool. So they're more like, are they like 10+%? Or are they like the big dogs, like 15 plus?
Pretty much always bigger. Yeah, they're usually most of ours that come in around 13.5%.
Nice. All right. So some serious stuff like motor oil.
We
type
do
of
it
vibes.
bolder. We like to do a little bigger.
That's the way to go. I'm a huge fan of them. I normally keep because I imagine with you guys as well, like it's hot, like stouts, particularly after COVID. You know, you get these 750 ml bottles, and you're like, "What the fuck am I gonna do with this now?" Like,
Yeah.
you can't see anybody, and then you end up just stacking up. So I found that what I normally would do on a Wednesday, I call it like Big Beer Wednesday, and I always try and do like a warm up beer, like 8 to 10%, and then have like a bigger one, which
Sure.
is silly, but it's the only way otherwise they just keep racking up.
Yeah.
And it's the only way I've found to drink them, to actually get through them. And I'm like,
Yeah.
these things aren't cheap and they're fantastic. And I want to make sure I'm drinking them. I'm like, you're not going to have like 4 beers and then, let's do a 12% stout, 750 to the face. Like, it's not happening. So it's, I'm always curious about the different packaging sizes and all the things that, the different folks do. So it's always the same size, that 22 ounce bottle.
And we do have, we could do a 12-ounce can of it.
Sick.
It's just been tough. So we've done like some adjuncted versions in cans. And I think that works
cool.
out. I think it works out well because we'll sell it actually as like a 2-pack kind of thing.
Nice.
And it works out well because it's, we like the smaller serving size too.
I'm with that.
It's
That's
just
what I was asking.
it's hard to make that a full-time way to package these beers.
Yeah, it's gonna be a pain in the ass.
So we're working through it still. I think for now it'll be bottles, and we'll just kind of make some decisions and trials as we go.
I like that. I feel like, something we talk there. I'm always super curious as different perspectives on the packaging. Like, I feel like I've got used to, I don't know about you guys, but I got used to drinking these larger format things just to myself, and it's fine. But it's like, really, they're better for sharing, the larger ones. And sometimes like 8-ounce cans or something, but they're not very like common. to see those ones, but even like the 12 ounces are fantastic for those. I like the idea of having like if you do like a straight one that's in the bottle and then an adjunct one in the can. I think that's really cool. And that 12 ounce is like almost about half-ish of the bottle, so it's like you could pretty much easily individual could do one of those even if it's 13, 14+%, whatever. That is sick. On that, we were saying off air, I love that you guys are doing the shorties for everything. I don't recall seeing any other sizes in the fridge. Is that correct that all your stuff is short cans?
Yeah. The canning line that we have is just a single size.
Okay.
And we basically picked it for like kind of the reason that you're saying is we like the 12-ounce size because basically people can get more servings for their money. And that's kind of the idea. And that's how we like to drink. I don't necessarily need to drink, a 16-ounce, every single time. Sometimes it's just a crush a 12 and be good to go.
I couldn't agree more, man. I think it's like I feel like it's not the most common thing. And I've seen a bit of like when people talk about it online, from what I've seen, a lot of maybe it's a specific type of drinker, but people like seem to lean towards the larger formats, even if it's for the stouts and stuff. I'm with you guys. Like I kind of like, I just like this. There's something about it. Like it's nice to have a tall can here and there as well. But like I would say the 90% of the stuff ends up being tall cans.
The 12 is great as a consumer. I think we certainly don't get as much into the whole trading market because it's not a 16-ounce can. So it makes it kind of weird. But as far as like just our normal consumers, I think a 12-ounce works really nice.
Yeah. Do you guys get any like? Was this decision strictly based on both of all four of you, your preferences, or was it sort of a
preference?
Preference.
Yep.
I like that.
Well, yeah.
It's some of that. Well, and we saw some inspiration, like when they were out in Denver, like Odd 13. I don't know if you ever heard of them.
What are they called?
Odd 13.
Odd 13.
Yeah. Oh. I think they were one of the earlier haze and IPA producers out there. But they did all their stuff in 12-ounce cans. And we were like, this is great. Because even then, that was a little bit different than what other people were doing, in the 16s.
Gotcha. Even on their website, it looks like they might have switched up.
They may have switched up. At the time, they were 12s.
At the time, they were 12s. Okay. Yeah, there's certain breweries that sort of just like, just do it. Just do the shorties. And there's some out here as well that like my favorite like lager breweries, Godspeed in Toronto, they only do shorties. And even what's interesting is that there's, without going too deep into it, it's a little more regulated here. They have like this government store called the LCBO, which is the Liquor Control Board of Ontario. That's where only place essentially you can buy spirits. You can buy beer and wine and everything there, cider, everything. And they typically, like I've seen breweries who only do short cans and they want to get a beer in there, which is like a good way to kind of get out to the mass market and like, they're all across the province. They essentially force them to do tall cans. I was like, it's kind of like, because apparently they just don't sell as well. And I wonder if it's like sort of like a misaligned value prop from the consumer side where they think that, it's not as much, they're not looking at the price and looking at the size and they look at like something bigger and they're like, well, that's better value. I'm like, but look what's in the can here, man. Like, I wonder if there's like a bit of a consumer disconnect essentially, like from that. Have you guys seen anything like that, or is it generally like pretty positive response for the cans?
I mean, I think our consumers like it. I think, like I said, I think the only thing that I've heard is more from like the trading market. Like people, I don't know, they like the 16-ounce cans.
Gotcha.
And I think craft. I think
there's still some people that wish we did do 16-ounce, but we're just not set up for it.
No, we're not, and it's one of those things where we can sell 4-pack of 12-ounce cans for whatever, $13, $14, whatever it is. If you do it as a 16-ounce, suddenly you have to sell it like other places where suddenly it's 18, 20, $22, and it's like.
We also do a lot of higher ABV ones where we only serve them in like a 13-ounce at the brewery anyway. So I think it kind of felt weird if we were to serve them, in a 16-ounce.
Yeah.
In a way that would be unpresented in the tap room. So
I hadn't thought about that. That's a good point. Sort of like setting the expectations from what you get when you order to what you get when you leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah, I can see that. I guess I could even just thinking of I even just look at what we've drank so far and what else is to come. Like I can see like if ever you do switch up the system, whatever, you can put Riverside or something like that. It's probably the one they would want the most in the taller cans. I almost feel like the Crispies, people prefer them in the shorties.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, when we look at new canning line at some point, we certainly will look at the option of having one does both 12 and
Does
16.
that? Yeah. Interesting. No, I'd love to hear that. How do you guys feel about next one?
Yeah, good.
Pretty good.
So I don't actually have a Guggenwein in here, so
okay.
You go ahead. I'm about something else.
Okay, no problems. Okay, so this one. Tell us about this one, guys. This is the wheat beer.
Yep.
The Inspo from Germania.
Yep. So this is our German Hefeweizen, and it was inspired by our time over there. It was really the beer style that made me fall in love with craft, let's say even just flavorful beer in general.
Mm-hmm.
And so we came out at the gate with one, and it's actually our number one. Between that and the Riverside are two number one sellers in the tap room, and they can switch back and forth. People love having the Hafe in our tap room. I think it's actually even our maybe number one distributed beer too, in kegs.
Interesting. Okay, that was. I always wonder like how in the modern market, like when I first, you guys might have been from the sound of it into beer a bit before me, but say like the early 2010s. This was long before Haze and like where that kind of like takes over your life and stuff. Like drinking a lot of Hefeweizens. I used to drink it a lot back in Australia. Like they had these Belgian beer gardens who were drinking like Hoegaarden and stuff. Used to love it. I was always curious to what's the market perception of a Hefeweizen today? Like who's going for this? What type of consumer? Like, have you guys noticed any particular, like, it's usually this type of person. I know that's a highly generic question as far as that's concerned, but like, I'm just curious, like, who's really going hard on Hefeweizens, or is it kind of everybody? And maybe I'm too deep in the beer nerdery world.
I think it's like an easy go-to, and we'll sell it a lot to people that don't want something super hoppy, but they don't really want like a lager, and it's just something in between. And it has like the clove and like kind of fruity banana esters from the yeast. So I think that's kind of attractive as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not like just old dudes or something like that. It's just
not
old school.
No. Yeah, I think
everyone's
for sure.
Yeah.
Kind of across the board.
Well, it's fun. Obviously it's delicious beer, but also we serve in the traditional Hefeweizen glass, and so you'll see these big kind of traditional glasses out in the beer garden. I think people really enjoy, drinking from those as well.
That's fun. You're right. They probably have one of the coolest glasses. These guys.
Yep.
And is there any specific ingredients aside from this, or this is pretty like the
yeah. So
what type of vibes?
Yep. Yeah. So it's gonna be very heavy wheat, Pilsner malt, all German malt, and this is just one that we've developed over time. It's probably what should be maybe the simplest beer is the most complex beer to repeatedly make the same each time. It's so yeast driven as far as like the flavors and stuff you get from it that any small change can have a huge effect on it. Gotcha. And so it's the one that we really have had to dial in the most to get consistent over time. Even I think we went to Germany, it was like a year before we opened the brewery. And even when we were over there, we were talking to German brewers, and they're like, yeah, this is, one batch of these very heavy banana, one batch of very heavy clove. So even for them, it's one of the most challenging ones to make repeatedly.
Interesting. I don't know if I would have picked that. I would have figured that those guys over the hundreds of years might have figured it out, but I guess that's beer.
Yep. Yep.
That's awesome. All right. I love it. Keen to get into it. Cheers, guys.
Yep.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's definitely got the banana esters on there.
And that's the way that we prefer it. So I'll focus more on the kind of the banana side. Like I said, when we were actually over there, we knew we were going to open up with the Hefeweizen, and so we bought. Have you ever been to like a German beer store
in the North America?
No, and I mean in Germany.
Oh, in Germany, no. I only went to Berlin, but 20 years ago when I didn't know shit.
Sure. Yeah. Well, they'll have like an entire aisle of just Hefeweizens. and you could
Okay.
buy by the case. Like basically, you could build your own case basically of these.
Sick.
And so we bought a bunch of them while we were there. We tried them out next to each other, and it was the whole range. It's like IPAs for them. The range from
That
heavy
makes sense.
banana to very heavy clove and everything in between. And so when someone talks about a traditional German Hefeweizen, it really could be any of those things. But we definitely prefer more of the banana forward version.
That's fascinating. I did not know that. I would have thought that if you drink we did an episode recently with my co-hosts, and we did like 9 fest beers, because fest beers is probably the greatest beer in the world to me.
Yeah.
9 of them in a row, too much, so too much.
Sure.
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
That roasty by the end of it, it's just like drinking. You have like 6 different hazy IPAs, and you're like halfway through you can't tell the difference. It was like that. But I didn't realize the breadth and the depth of the what it could be presented as. And then at the very end, so they were all local ones, except Sam Adams we had, and there might have been something else. We just did whatever you could get at the LCBO, and we had the 2 German ones that we could get, the Polner and the Hofbrau. I'm like, oh, that's what the fuck. They were very similar. The 2 German ones were very similar. And kind of surprised. I'm like, oh, this is exactly what it's supposed to be. And so everyone is trying to do that. And some people got close, some people did their own take, whatever. So from what I could tell, it's a relatively, I don't know, consistent approach to it. I haven't dug as deep in say Hefeweizens or anything like that. So that's fascinating to know that. Was there a specific one that you both loved that you were like, oh, this is the one we need it to be like? Or was it kind of an amalgamation of?
It's Franziskaner.
Yeah. Franziskaner. Yep.
Okay.
That's the one that was the one that I went to the most. And that was the one that, even at our wedding, actually, that was the beer that I had all the groomsmen. Basically, we drank that before, the wedding.
That's sick.
This is kind of ode to being over in Germany.
That's awesome. And would you say that this one is the closest to that?
Yeah, because that one, obviously things can change over time, but Franziskaner was, to me, the one that was kind of the best kind of banana forward, still in balance, of course, but had nice banana character to it.
That's awesome. Okay. And the bananas, obviously the bananas coming from the yeast. The clove comes from the yeast, or you're adding cloves? Excuse me.
No, it's from the yeast, but it's also part of basically like a chemical process within the beer. So
gotcha.
There's ferulic acid that is developed in the beer during the mashing process. So it gets mashed in at a lower temperature, and then we raise it up. And while it's at a lower temperature, it basically develops this ferulic acid, which later on becomes that kind of clove flavor in the beer.
Okay.
And so it gets a little more complicated, and like the amount of time it spends at lower temperature affects how much clove flavor is in the beer. And so that's why I said this beer itself is the most complex as far as dialing in the process to make it consistent each time.
Gotcha. So then, just to clarify, since we're discussing it, I often get confused esters and not polyphenols. What's the other word?
Well, like phenols.
Esters and phenols. I think I'm thinking of. What's the difference? What one's banana, one is bubblegum.
Well, I mean, banana and like the bubblegum, could be those are generally they could be like the esters.
That's esters. Okay.
Yeah, but like the more the clove flavor, so they'll actually say it's a phenolic. For other beers, the clove flavor is a phenolic off flavor. For banana, it's it is just part of the flavor for it. It's phenolic positive for the Hefeweizen strains, which means it will produce that kind of clove flavor.
So phenols, clove, esters, banana.
Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you for clarifying. That's fascinating. Yeah, I feel like I don't know about because you got once again, you guys started with the German vibe, and it's like when I started the beer thing, you start with the local domestic lagers, and then you go through the European lagers, and then they all start to taste the same, and then you go through the color wheel of ambers and nut browns and stouts, all these, all of that stuff. And I feel like there wasn't maybe here over North America in general, there just wasn't a ton of them. There's definitely some, but there wasn't like a ton where you could really put a whole bunch side by side and start to understand like, this is what I mean. Maybe now, but 12 years ago it was a little tougher. So it wasn't really like something that you get to like learn as much about. And also then if I like you guys started homebrewing, I didn't know shit. So then it was as I started to learn stuff, because I'm talking to intelligent, knowledgeable people like you two, often I'm starting to learn more about it. Then, and you sort of mentioned earlier, Courtney, you guys were into haze, and then it started to get more into the lagers. I've been doing the same too, and the haze is the best, but god damn it, nothing beats a Luca pour of like a fresh Czech lager. And then, but I don't know much about it, so I've been trying to sort of dig deep whenever an opportunity presents itself. So I don't know much about Hefeweizens either. So I think it's really cool. And I do love to see something else you guys mentioned briefly was this is the most popular beer on distro.
Yeah,
from you guys.
Yeah, I say it. It bounces week to week. If
Okay.
I'm looking at the average, I believe it's probably the most kegs sold on distro, but it ends up being close to like the Pilsner and then the Riverside. So it's kind of the same three.
And we have a small distro program too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not crazy, but
Okay.
It's growing. We have like one sales manager doing our self distro. He's awesome.
That's awesome.
But
It's a bit of, I was just going to ask about that compared to this, because we talked a lot about the tap room experience and what's going on there and the way you do the packaging. From the distro side, how is that working for you guys? Is it obviously you're in the game? Are you aspiring to sort of ramp that up? Is it just more like do you look at it as like a brand building exercise as such? Like, what's your thoughts in general on the whole distro world?
thoughts in general, it's kind of hard. It's a hard thing to break into. It's hard to get in front of beer buyers and present your story and get people excited about it, but that's what we're all trying to do. For us, it's definitely brand awareness. It's creating partnerships in the community. And, if people have our beer out, they might seek to come to the tap room and try it. Over time, we want to keep growing our distro footprint, but we're only doing kegs right now. We're not doing cans since our cans are pretty limited to go and carry out from our own tap rooms.
Gotcha. Have you looked? Is it just in Indiana that you guys are distroing, or is it sort of?
It's just in Indianapolis for the most part.
Indianapolis, okay.
Yeah.
Any aspirations to go bigger than that?
Yeah, we definitely have aspirations.
Yeah, we still always want to be manageable, but we really, up until basically a month ago, we didn't really have the option to do much more. We were brewing on a 5-barrel system. We were brewing triple batches to fill a 15-barrel tank. There just wasn't any more days in the week to make any more.
Gotcha.
Now with the new brew house, it gives us that flexibility where if we see, hey, we really want to, or I guess the demand is out there because we're demand driven. So, if demand is out there for way more Hefeweizen, suddenly we have the capacity now to where we could do more, if we decide to go that route.
Okay. How big's the new brew house?
A 20.
Oh, hell yeah. That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah, so that's a lot better.
Yeah. Bit of an upgrade from that 5. Okay.
A little bit. Yep.
Yeah, the distro, we have another series called The Business of Beer, and we just talk about business related stuff and have folks on, as opposed to this one where we do a lot of brewery stories. And I had one recently with a gentleman in Florida that I had on a few times, and he was explaining the American system, and it's pretty crazy. Yeah, so you would have to sign with a distributor that owns you for life, type of thing. Is that just Florida?
No, I mean, honestly, we haven't even gone down that path at all. Since we're able in Indiana, we can self-distribute to bars and restaurants.
Okay, like licensees.
Yeah,
and that's what you're doing currently.
Yeah. That's what we're doing currently. So we have a sales manager who is out meeting with beer buyers, taking orders, and presenting. He's our brand ambassador out in the market, and then we have someone who's delivering the beer. So it's like a 2-person team for the most part. Gotcha. We don't have to sign, and you lose a lot of margins that way too. But going with a distributor, when we have higher quality or quantity, it might make sense someday. But we keep our options open, but we're not there yet.
Yeah, as long as we can manage it in house and it makes sense, we'll keep doing it that way.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, the licensee thing, great move, and that's awesome to get that sort of out in restaurants and stuff. But if people go to a beer store, they won't be able to find it, like any specialty beer store or anything like that currently. Okay.
Not yet. No, we're just on a single head filler, so
Oh, that's what still the county line's still that. Oh yeah, fuck, dude. No.
So,
okay, I get it.
We have we just opened in a second tap room in June as well. So
there's. Oh, you are?
Yep, we did. We opened It's actually in our neighborhood. It's not far from where we live.
Tell us about that. Hey, I was there in July, so I must admit. Okay, whereabouts is that one? Not like
So our main location is just northwest of downtown. Our second small tap room, it's in what we call South Broad Ripple. It's about 15 minutes northwest of our main location, or northeast of our main location.
that's
It's on
awesome.
46th Street in Indianapolis.
Okay, I'm seeing that on the website here where it's like comes up with the 46th Street one.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a neighborhood. It's like a neighborhood family friendly tap room. Has more walking traffic. We just started trivia on Tuesday nights. We're trying to create, that neighborhood feel. It'll be interesting to see what it's like going into the winter.
That's
And
fun.
it's small. It's much smaller than what we're used to at the main building, but it's cozy and inviting.
That's okay. That's one of the coolest things, to be honest, about America that I love that it gives. Oh, I feel like so many breweries there have a second space or third space or whatever. Here, it's very rare, very rare.
Yeah.
I love that you guys have that opportunity. What was what made you guys want to do that to open the second one?
Yeah, it's always been in kind of our long-term plan of, how we expand and how we expand smartly. This opportunity, we were not planning to open a coffee shop and a second tap room within a month of each other in the same time. It was kind of nuts, really. But
Jeez.
there was a local brewery that was vacating the space, and so it was really turnkey in many ways with like the cooler and the bar, and all of that was already there. And it was, like I said, in our neighborhood where we both of our families live. So it felt right, and it took some time to just kind of turn it over and make it our brand. But yeah, that's kind of what drove us to do it, probably about a year sooner than we were looking to do it.
Gotcha. That's cool. I guess when the universe presents that info, like opportunity, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, that's sick. Now, does it have brewing equipment there, or is it's more like a tap room only? No.
It's just a straight up tap room with a small
Sick.
kitchen. Yeah, we've
Okay.
about 12 to 14 taps on it, or beers on it all times.
That's wicked. And you're able to just whip over kegs and stuff from the main spot?
Yeah.
Okay. There's no like crazy restrictions with those, because I know it can be a little weird with those laws and stuff, depending on where you are. It's pretty easy. Like,
No, it's pretty easy. It's kind of like our second distribution, like main distribution point. It's,
Gotcha.
we're able to get our beer in the hands of our customers. People can do carry out cans there as well.
I was about to ask. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like a little, and I see on the website here, it's like paninis.
Yes, right. And that's also a work in progress, trying to figure out truly what food makes sense in this tiny little kitchen, knowing that people want food. You get people to stay longer if they can stay and have a meal, but it's a challenge and it's a small space. So
yeah, I bet.
Being that it's our first endeavor in a second location, we're learning a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine that must be. It seems like you guys have been through it with this whole journey, like from finding the place in 2016, and then like, oh, okay, now we're going to renovate this house, and now we're going to renovate this thing, and now I got a second place, and now we turned that into a car. That's a pretty wild story in a short amount of time with a family.
I guess so. We don't necessarily sit back and, I guess, reflect. Maybe take time to do that as much as we should, but
I can imagine.
We like to think we've given. We put thought behind every decision we make. And being that we're a family owned, we all have families and young kids. Like you have to put thought behind everything you do, because it's not just like about us and our crazy dreams. It's about our families, but then now it's about our staff that keeps growing and making it something that works for this team that we have now too. So
yeah,
we try to be methodical.
I imagine you have to stay organized for sure, and like crazy that's so then if you're brewing, like specifically that's your vibe, that's what you do. Okay. And Courtney, what's your I guess we didn't even ask in the beginning. I apologize.
Yeah, I focus on like our marketing and sales. So
okay,
I oversee our private events in distro, and then I still do all of our day-to-day marketing.
Okay, amazing. And then your sister and her husband, what's their role in the business?
So Ryan, he does he has like front of house experience, so he's kind of always been overseeing the front of house side of things, and then he does all of our books. He was a business analyst before this, so he
That is convenient.
is our financial side. And then my sister, I have to get some water. She was a speech therapist at the hospital not far from the brewery. So she was the last one to go full time, but she does all of our photographs of all of our beers. She does all of our like a community partnerships. She is our HR that works with our outsourced HR company. She does a lot of people things and a lot of random things, as you do as business owners.
As you do. That's dope. I really admire that. Like that there's 2 husband and wife teams working with that. I just think that's super cool, and that you kind of have this like, because I have that with my partner, like we do the business together, and it's like, I don't know, there's something about it that's sort of like a shared goal, and it's sort of like it can be a problem, I imagine, as well, because you how do you shut that off? It's a little difficult to breathe a bit, but yeah, that's sick. It's especially with your sister. I think that's so cool. You're able to do that, and to find like having Ryan, you said his name was, like doing the books, like that's always the hardest part, is having like the money. And I've got another friend who owns a brewery here, and his mom does the books, and I was like, that's sick. Like just having like somebody completely trustworthy, like doing that, because that's when shit gets a bit wild sometimes with the books, and I feel like that's a challenge. That's really cool that you guys have got that set up, and it kind of like sounds like it organically just happened. Which is even cooler.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of each found our groove, and we overlap in a lot of areas. We don't overlap so much. Like it works really well for us because we can work together, but we don't have to work side by side every day. You know, I'm not back in the brew house with him, and he's not sitting on my desk doing social media posts. So we try to give each other space and respect each other's areas. But then when we need to come together and make decisions and discuss things, we're able to do that pretty easily most of the time.
That's cool. I love that. It's very cool. It's cool hearing about all this. So how do you guys feel? I see you need some water. I imagine I'm gonna hit the bathroom. Do you want to just, I imagine we all do. Do you want to just pause for a second? We'll be back.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right,
Thank you.
go. And we are back. Alrighty. So yes, we'll just talk about the couples. Very, very cool. It's got to be a sense of comfort, maybe, or relief for you guys to know that there's family involved and there's a level of trust in your partners. Has that been like maybe I'm assuming too much there, or maybe you could tell, like, how's it been working with family is probably a better question.
I mean, it's definitely had its challenges over the years, but I think that's to be expected in any business. So
of course, me
and my sister are twins, and we've been through like every big life thing together, except when we lived in Germany and when she got her master's in St. Louis, and then lived in Denver for a little bit. So, but now we're like, you know, we each have 3 kids. We're raising them a mile apart, like as brothers and sisters. And so like at the heart of it, we're family. And then we own this business that, you know,
keeps growing,
small business, but keeps growing. So definitely has its challenges, because at the end of the day, like, you know, you have finances to worry about, and like there's a lot of things that always play into it, but also knowing that like we're in it together, and we're gonna figure it out together and support each other. It just comes that part comes naturally for us.
Yeah, that's very cool. I know what it's like when you're working with family, or kind of almost anybody. Sometimes you do need that break. Do you guys sort of hang out? I wonder if is it difficult to hang out and just be humans again, like be sisters and brothers-in-law and all that stuff? Like, what's the vibes?
Sometimes it's hard for us all to actually find time for all 4 of us, like to hang out with the kids, because a lot of times like Ryan might be on call, like if we're short at the kitchen or need backup somewhere, like from the front of house things, or Derek, when we were getting the system up and going, basically, I guess the last 6 months is what it felt like. It was a lot of like late nights, but we're together quite a bit. We're together a lot. I mean,
does that make you not want to hang out as much?
No, not necessarily. No, it's just kind of like our people.
I like that.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that's a cool answer.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, sometimes if I, just had like a 12, 16-hour day in the brewery, I probably don't want to talk about the brewery once I leave it. So that's kind of my thing. I'd rather talk about something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, besides that, yes.
Yes, it would be nice. That's cool though that you like look at it like that's our people. Like I think that's like the coolest thing. I'm with my girlfriend essentially 24/7, and you talk about other nonsense, but you talk about business like a lot of the time because it just is what it is. But it doesn't ever get annoying. But we don't have any like my brother's sort of involved. He mixes the podcast. He does some other stuff, but like I don't see him like y'all would see each other. So I think that's a cool answer to be able to say that and be like, yeah, it's like, yeah, cool. Like sometimes, whatever, you have your little things, business is annoying, whatever, but it's cool that you sort of got no business can drive family apart is kind of what I'm getting at, you know what I mean? And you guys clearly have very defined roles for the most part. Even if Ryan's a bit of a gopher and doing a bunch of different things, that's actually very valuable for a business. So someone can just like, cool, what do we need? We need that. Let's go, and your sister too, actually. It's yeah, I was curious that from the beginning once we were talking on email and you mentioned Courtney that was the situation. I was like, that's immediately my first thought was like, that's sick. Like I feel like particularly twins that have this additional bond other than just regular siblings is like cooler to be able to go into business and then you have this shared financial goals and like also if it doesn't work then everyone's equally affected type of thing.
Yeah.
So it's like pressure, but positive pressure too. Like there's like the scary side, but there's also the like, but what if we do this? And clearly you guys are moving toward like opportunity, being that you had the coffee idea to utilize that property and not let it just sort of be a storage space or something. And then now the second tap room, which is super sick. Like that's really cool. Do you guys have additional aspirations for other things, or is it sort of like these two, from what it sounds like, they weren't as like crazy planned, which sort of maybe the opportunity presented and you guys are like, should we do it? Let's go. Like, is there anything that you guys like, yeah, we plan on doing X, or it's sort of.
Yeah. I mean, I think we definitely plan to take 2025 to look at to work on what we have.
Okay.
Like 2025 for us will be a year of processes and still maximizing like our headquarter, like our main spot, the spot that you were at. But we do have aspirations for beyond that. We just want to do it very smartly. I think long term, I mean, we've shared our like grand plan. We want something like, obviously the market would have to support this as well, but like more of a destination nature inspired brewery out somewhere. And there's a lot of things we'd want to have there as well, but like that to us would be like a giant playground. And that would be someday when it would truly make sense for that to happen. And maybe not so far away, but you got to put it out there. Like you said, like it has to go on the vision board and you got to kind of think about it and give it some positive energy and work towards it if it were to ever happen. So we do have grander plans.
That's it.
But just not happening tomorrow.
Not just yet, no. I like that you guys are focusing on the processes, because if you've opened the second space and you're trying to figure that out, and then you've got this coffee thing, that's a lot to manage. It's a lot of logistics. It's a lot, And you just upgraded the brew house, so that means there's things, maybe the volume of grain you get in changes, and then there's other elements that you need to sort of manage in line with that, and like having SOPs and like things like that would make your life easier, like a little more autopilot-y, like you don't have to think about every little thing, whereas like maybe there might, in the growing pains, and like you said, it was June was it May and June or June and July for both of the two, the coffee and the
coffee was May, and then
June
tap room was June.
Right, so that's what, at most like 5 months. No, May is 6 months from now, but like that's not very long. 6 months isn't a crazy amount of time to sort of totally dial it all in. So yeah, that's really smart, you guys doing that. As far as like the beer side, do you guys do like collabs and stuff? You guys been working with other breweries locally or further abroad?
Yeah, we've done a few. It's never, we'd love to. It's never been a super high priority given like it's been hard for for him to just even like step away from the brew house. given like how labor intensive it has been up to this point. So
Right.
we have a few in the works, like with CBC coming up, and some other local ones, but we love collaborating. We love working with other like breweries and other local small businesses. So as we go and grow like that, that'll always be somewhat of a focus too.
Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah, and that was one of the ideas. Like with New Brew House, it frees up more time to where we have the flexibility to do some of that stuff. Before for me even to get like a day off, ever, it took an act of God to make that happen. Whereas now I can actually maybe plan something into the schedule where I can have some time off.
That's that's crazy. Because I was thinking when you guys were talking before, I was like, maybe you could go as families and go on a little like 3-night vacay somewhere just to get away. But like now you're putting it like that, and you had to do multiple brews per day to just fill up fermenters. Like, how could you?
Yeah.
We did go to the beach though. We have made that a point, and Abby went, but Ryan did not go this past year. So our goal in July is to have all 4 of us be able to step away for a week.
That's got to be key. There's got to be something to. I know why work this hard to sort of to never enjoy the spoils of it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Or
type
at
of thing.
be able to step away.
Time off,
So
Just
that's
breathe,
definitely our
reset.
goal.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. I like that. CBC would be a great opportunity actually for some collabs and just get people in and get people talking. I would imagine that perhaps the Indianapolis scene is probably underrepresented and under sort of promoted everywhere. I hadn't heard of basically when I did all my research, everything was pretty new to me. So I feel like that's a pretty sick opportunity to get people. And I feel like the guy, like if you guys are at the top of the Reddit thing, that people were like gassing you guys up for the haze, which is arguably what most people would be looking for, I would say, which probably seems pretty fair if you look at the maybe styles that sell by volume right now. Then a lot of the breweries, particularly the breweries that are good at that from everywhere within the country and beyond. Because from what I understand, my boy Troy from Badlands out here, he goes down because that's where they do the freestyle rubs, the selections at CBC. Yeah, I don't know how it works, but that's why a lot of the dudes go down from here. Like you have cats from everywhere to come through, so it's a pretty cool opportunity, and I imagine they'll probably hear about it. Anyone I speak to that is going down, I'll be gassing you guys up for sure and be like, get down there. I imagine that'd be a pretty cool opportunity for you guys, kind of show off what you're doing, and you got a really cool space, and to sort of just if you're able to swing it, just do a bunch of cool collabs if you're connecting with people, and I hadn't thought of it like that. That's pretty cool, just because everybody's in town. Like, hey, if the actual brewer's there, like, let's figure something out. Let's just chuck it in the tank while we're here, and maybe even figure out one on their side too. Get a little bit of travel in. And have you guys done stuff like that? Like do a collab on your side and then go out to them?
We haven't done as much of the kind of, I guess, like the two-way version. Like we've done some like collabs away from us before, but it hasn't been like in both spots yet.
Both spots, yeah.
That's something that we'll do eventually. We just haven't got to that point.
Get to that time, yeah. It's like, as you say, you can't get away long enough to do that. So hopefully you can. Yeah, I always wonder, like, obviously those are fun and they're like good industry and relationship building things, but I kind of feel like it's good marketing. I guess it's like, is it not basically the same ish end result as distro, where if you go and collaborate with a brewery that has its own following and respect in its market, then attaching your name to them because they're good people and good products, like, kind of pushes it, and people are like, who are these guys? Oh wow, okay. Well, if you're working with this brewery, then obviously you got to have some sort of great product to be able to work with them, and so on and so forth. I imagine that would just push folks your way. Have you guys seen any results of that from any collabs in the past?
I mean, I don't know that we've even done that many.
Yeah,
we've done a handful.
Not enough to do it.
I think it's probably helped in that moment, but I don't know that we've seen like long-term effects of it per se, but I think it definitely has some awareness for people that see the post and truly like look into and care about it. Everyone that maybe tries the beer isn't like gonna look us up on Instagram or something to see who we truly are.
Right.
But it does have, every bit helps, I guess.
Yeah. I think a lot was even just for us. It's
a learning.
It's a chance, builds
yeah.
camaraderie, get to hang out with our, colleagues around industry.
To check out a different brewery than what we're in every single day. So it's,
which is going to be top of the list for you guys if you sort of really like. It sounds like you guys are still in that sort of heads down mode where you're just like grinding on your thing and haven't been able to kind of like look up and venture out a little bit.
We see the light. I think Al started. He's been picking the kids up from school, which has been like so nice.
Okay,
so there you go. A little bit of freedom.
Yep.
Baby steps right there.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally, man. I guess if you're like locked to that smaller brew house, then of course that's gonna be difficult. Yeah, I find that like I think that's like an important step for breweries to be able to like kind of like you said, Courtney, like see another brewery that's not yours, the one you're in every day, but also just like learn, explore, like even like getting back, not traveling during COVID. For pre-COVID, we were all over the place all the time. So it was actually kind of nice to be like, oh, we don't have to go to any stupid event and have to travel. This is sick. Then after a while, it's like, let me out. I want to go.
You're ready. Yeah.
We waited a bit just because I didn't want to go to places where everything looked like a science experiment, like the masks and the plexiglass. I just wanted to wait till things opened up a bit. So we waited till beginning of last year to start exploring a bit. And it was, I forgot, like it had been 3 years of not traveling, essentially. Little bits, but like whatever, just within the general sort of area, nothing crazy. It was so nice to get back out and explore. And we go to Buffalo like once a month now and dig in what's there. Then during the summer, go on these longer trips and just explore. And I'm just a drinker. I'm not doing what you guys are doing. And I was like, oh, this is fantastic. Like I get perspective. Obviously, we're having this conversation because of that. To me, I think it's cool because I have this platform and I want to make sure I'm showcasing things that I think are just dope from the exploration and get to talk to cool people like you guys and just hear about the story and hear what you're up to. And I feel like that could be 10x as valuable for you two. Maybe you'll see some processes that they're doing if you want to get boring with it, or just the way they got the kitchen set up. You're saying, obviously, what makes the most sense to make the kitchen work smoothly. And you just doing all these things. Essentially, it's, it's a write-off. It's a business trip to check out some other breweries.
We didn't necessarily see behind the scenes, but we went to Cincinnati this weekend just for like, we were out there for one night. So we're like, let's go. So we went to 3 breweries and it is like the whole time we were able to like enjoy a night away, but
sick.
To get out and like that, it's some of it's validation for like things that we're doing right. And then other things are just like little low hanging fruit that we could do just to make like an experience in our tap room better too. So I think the front and back of house things are so important, and you can, I don't know, you can learn a lot.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I went to Cincinnati this night. Cincinnati was so sick. I couldn't believe it. Only for one night, but I was like, yo, this place is beautiful. Like all that little mountainous thing and the river and everything.
Yeah.
Such a pretty place.
Hilly. There's so many more hills than in India.
Oh yeah, I guess India was pretty kind of flat out there, right? Like all the cornfields on the way up. Yeah. Different, but how far is that from you guys?
Just less than 2 hours.
Is that it? Oh, because it's just zipping right across.
Oh yeah.
I think that was what we were like on the way down to went to Nashville, and we stopped in Detroit, which is only like 3.5 hours from here. And then it was like 7-ish, I think, to Nashville. And it went through Cincinnati. And I was like, what is this? And then when we we came through Indianapolis on the way back. And then because I was like, had to go to Atlanta, and Cincinnati happened to be dead in the middle of going to Atlanta. And once again, just a one-nighter, but it was Indianapolis, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh. I just did one-nighters this summer. All probably my 3 favorite discoveries. Like just the random cities that not random, but you know what I mean. Like places that I weren't the ultimate destination, but where we like to do road trips. They're always like sort of fun, and I feel like there's so much cool undiscovered stuff out there that doesn't get talked about enough. And like in a time when beer is in a weird kind of place. With as far as like sustainability, lots of breweries, it's like every other day there's a merger or a closure or something. It's nice to sort of see these, just cool different things outside of the places that you typically go, which I guess all of us sort of fall into the trap and keep going to the same thing. So it's super, super cool to see. How do you guys feel about then the I guess the future of beer. I obviously pretty optimistic if you've got the big space and the second space. But yeah, how you guys feeling about it? What's the vibe in your city currently?
I think from what we've seen, I mean, beer is still like the primary focus. Obviously, that's what our business is built around, but it's people want the space to gather as well. And that's why the tap room is and always will be like at the heart of what we do. It's like that space to enjoy the product that we put so much thought into. And so I think kind of like where it's going is like, how do you continue to evolve that space to meet the needs of the customer that's coming in, and not just the beer drinker, but the people that come with the beer drinker, so that it is truly a space for everyone. Like we're looking at little things like do we add wine in 2025? We already offer it for private events, so low throw, just to offer it then at the bar, so that we get people. They'll reach out to me on our website and be like, hey, I have one person in my group who just doesn't like beer. Do you offer wine? And right now I'm like, no, I'm sorry. And so maybe they don't come. But if we said yes, then that's another group that can come in and enjoy our space. So looking at little things and little tweaks we can do like that. And then, and a lot of places are already doing that. A lot of bigger destination breweries are definitely already offering wine, if not like cocktails and stuff, which we're not planning to get into at all. We have a 2-way license. We don't plan to offer liquor at all. But the other side is like events, and looking at how you can continue to bring people in and give them like that space to meet other people, or join something that's a little bigger than themselves. Like, do we start a running club next year? That's on our list. How do we create more signature events that are tied around what our customers like? That's the direction that we feel we've always been in that space, and we're going to continue to enhance it.
That's sick. Interesting you mentioned that. One thing I did note over the last year and a bit of going to different places in the States is that the offering the outside of beer is almost universal. I can't, like, my girlfriend was drinking a lot of beer, but she wanted to just cut down calories. So she started drinking like at breweries, she'd go seltzers. If they had wine, she'd get wine. Sometimes place that draft cocktails or something like that. And I was always thinking like, oh, that's pretty convenient for other people. Obviously I don't care, but like for bringing other people, like if I was going with a group, and like exactly what you were talking about, if there's one person who doesn't like beer, you want to be able to sort of bring them in with something. And like that seemed to be a common theme that I saw a lot in the States, and a little bit here. We have a bit more, once again, common thing. We have a lot of restrictions in Canada in comparison, but if you're able to sort of have wine, some non-alcoholic stuff or whatever, I mean, that's pretty sweet. Just to sort of have like, make it more of like like, once again, we're talking about the challenges of beer. So if you're able to bring somebody in, there's a bunch of beer drinkers, but there's a couple people who don't, then at the very least, you got a few different wine options that, even if it's just little joints in the can, which is super easy and fun. Yeah, I like that. That's really cool. Hey guys, go on. Sorry.
Go ahead. I was going to say the other piece of that is like, I know there's a lot of talk about like being family friendly these days, but like from the onset, that's definitely what we created Guggman Haus with that idea of like, well, where do we want to go if we have kids? Like, having that place you can go without like much expectations, and having to like sit at a table, everyone, sit there and then order your food. And then when you're done, get up and leave. It's like, we wanted a place more at the leisure. So that's definitely a thing that we've done as well.
Family friendly is definitely, family and dog friendly, I guess, the other two things aside from the beverage options, those two things definitely making like people feel welcome. And I feel the more I say, we have a pup, I was saying off air before, and we bring the little guy to everywhere we go. He's been to sat under more tables at breweries than most people have been to. And it's so cool when it's sort of like it's just like welcomed, and the brewery is like talking about that. Like, as a dog, like, we don't have children, but like a dog, I don't mind if I'm going to a brewery. I like seeing the families. Like, sometimes if the kids are well behaved, but typically
good reason.
We
can kind of go either way, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like if they're, I just like that, because I'm just like, oh, like there's been a bunch of times. It's really funny. We always see at our neighborhood bar that we go to here, like a craft beer bar. There's always like a dad with a daughter. It's always the daughter. It's very fun. Like 3 years old. I'm like, you're just dragging your daughter in because you want to crash a couple pints, bro. Like I get it, man. Like it's. I think that's cool, and I think it's like good for the kids to see some sort of thing and see that like breweries who have like some little games or there's all different people just hanging out, and you can see hey, beer is just a fun thing to bring. There's some food and we're just hanging out and little things for the kids to color or something like that. And I know I think that's actually a really great point. Like I feel like that's almost the one that gets where most people talk about the liquid options or food as well because that keeps people. Then you got shit like trivia and like you were doing at the other spot and little events, brunches and music and whatever. But having that other thing to make it clear that families and I don't know if, once again pups might be a different situation depending, but just that's welcome and that's like encouraged is very cool. And obviously it speaks to the four of you guys with 6 children between you. I mean, obviously you started the brewery when you had kids and, I imagine, which is cool. I grew up, my parents had a toy shop. So me and my brother grew up in the back of a toy shop. So growing up in the back of it was cool for me when I was 8. But then when I was like 14, I'm like, this ain't cool anymore. Whereas it's the opposite. When your kids turn 21,
Sure.
because they won't drink a day before that is, that's like sick. Yeah, mom and
They
dad
were
are
talking about it
brutal.
on the way to school that Eli, our middle child's going to take it over. I said, well, it'll be your choice. We won't force anything on anybody, but just funny to hear him think about that.
That is cool though, right? Like, because I guess you guys didn't do it thinking like legacy, but you did mention earlier that it's just something that you could leave behind as something for the 6 kids. I mean, imagine like 6 cousins that were raised as brother and sisters for the most part, like running something. That's a pretty cool, like childhood. Like,
Yeah,
see mom
I
and
hope
dad
they
and
look
aunt
back
and
at that
uncle.
and think so. I mean,
Yeah.
They like to go to the brewery so they can watch YouTube in our office. That is what the core memory is for them because they're only allowed to
For
watch
now.
it there.
For now, yes.
For now,
For now.
I
How
know.
old are they?
Ours are 9, 6, and 2, and
Okay.
then my sisters are 8, 5, and 3. No, 8, 5, and 2.
Gotcha. So similar-ish.
Yeah.
I remember just small things like my dad showing me how to use a filing cabinet. Like, and I'd listen to what they said. Like I'm thinking, because I was 8, he got laid off from his job. He worked at Toshiba, like the computer company, right before his 10 years. He got screwed. And then he's like, what should I do? Asking his, at the time, 7-year-old kid. I'm like, get a toy shop. And he did. So then I was like, what a gangster. So like growing up in the shop there, and I always listened to what they were saying. They made us work. If I wanted something, like, cool, you can have it, but you got to work for it. It's how much you get per hour, and you work and learn how to stock the shelves, help customers, run the till, like, all that type of stuff. And I really felt like that I got a lot of, it's very different. You can't have a 9-year-old pouring beer, but, there's things that I think they soak up, just speaking from experience, like there's things that they soak up by watching you guys interact and then watching the 4 of you interact. And seeing like kids are observant and they're probably smarter these days than we were back then. So just like seeing the different things, I kind of feel like I took the camera battery died, but you can still hear me. Yeah, there's so many things that you can take from that as a child. That's like, I don't know, just like sets into your memory a little bit and like allows you to sort of keep these little things in mind. You remember, my file, like my girlfriend doesn't file her stuff. All my stuff is on point because Dad showed me how to file.
Yeah.
Like small things like that. And I feel like maybe he took a notice in me. He's like, I kind of feel like I think this dude knows, maybe he wants to do business stuff. And I watched them. I was always inspired by it. I never wanted to work for anybody because I'd seen what they did. Yeah, they worked their asses off and they worked too hard to the point they messed their bodies up by standing 7 days a week essentially for 18 years. Back problems, knee, like all that stuff. But yeah, there's something really cool about it. So like whenever I see like, parents with the kids running brews and stuff, I don't know, I feel like there's something that they won't realize right now that they're getting out of it. And in the future, I think they'll be like, they'll look back and be like, man, that was a education that they didn't expect to get.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll move away and they won't even care, but I would hope that some of it, they would take they'll get something from it at the very least,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that perspective. Thank you.
Yes. No worries. I hadn't even thought about it, and just hearing you guys talk about it when you're saying that being raised with the cousins and stuff, I just like, oh man, what a cool childhood. That's
Yeah.
like such a cool thing that you guys are giving them that perhaps you don't realize is now. And like, and maybe I'm boosted and maybe they don't care, but I can't imagine a child not thinking that's like pretty dope to be that close and living together and just seeing everyone like thrive and win and then be inspired to do, whether they take, like you said, middle kid wants to take over the business, hell yeah, bro, like get him going, like let's go, like show him stuff if he wants to answer the questions. But yeah, I just think it's really cool. I admire that a lot. How you guys feel about that last beer?
Yeah, for sure.
Sour time, yeah.
Oh yeah, some
Yeah.
sour.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I have the
Do the
it's
sour.
glorious,
Yeah.
this little gem right here. Tell us about this one, yo.
Sure. Which one's that? The strawberry, raspberry, blueberry?
That's the
Yeah,
one.
triple berry sour.
Triple berry.
Yeah. So see, I guess as far as categories go, so like our hazies in general are number one. Our sours are right there too. Behind them.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we do quite a few of these as well.
Alrighty. And they're fruited sours, not smoothie styles like the.
So well, depends how you define it. No, they're not the smoothie style. So we ferment out the fruit,
Gotcha.
or at least the sugars from the fruit.
Mhm.
It still has milk sugars in it, so kind of to create that body and the sweetness that you need to back up the fruit. But yeah, we focus on it's a heavy amount of fruit, in each of these. We use a wild. It's a common yeast, but it's a Philly sour yeast for ours. We ferment with this yeast. It creates lactic acid. And basically, we developed this over time to where, in order the fruit to taste like the fruit, you need the beer to have a certain level of sweetness and body to it. Otherwise, it's going to taste too thin or too sweet, so it has to be the right balance of it.
Gotcha. That makes sense. And I see what you're saying when you're like, depends how you define smoothie. This is without tasting it, looks pretty damn thick for a like a non-smoothie, like a fruited sour.
Yeah. It's not gonna be like extremely pulpy or anything like that. We still let everything settle out. We don't mix it in the bright tank or anything like that.
Okay. But it's feeling like it's pretty thick.
Yeah, I mean it's a big one. It's meant to stimulate more of the kind of the actual thickness, I guess, you get from fruit.
Okay.
Based on like the bricks levels and stuff like that.
Gotcha. I thought bricks was a wine term.
It is, but they'll use that to measure the sugar in fruit too.
I love that.
Yep.
Nice. That's awesome. There was this like chocolate here called Bricks a while ago, and it was. Is it American too, or was it just a Canadian thing? Is it found?
No, I was thinking we have a ice cream shop named Bricks.
Okay, so it's not uncommon. It was like a chocolate that was supposed to be made to pair with wine.
Oh, cool.
Based on that, I don't know. It could be some bullshit, but
yeah.
I like the idea of it. Okay, sick. This smells awesome. The nose is wicked. Head is beautiful. Cheers,
Cheers, first.
Yes.
Yep. So we'll focus on so it's that stuff. We'll also do vanilla beans in it. And then
Jesus,
this is the heavy amount of fruit. Yeah.
Oh man, that is fire. This could be one of the best fruit I'm a big fan of smoothies. Like we're talking, like fun beers, silly beers and stuff. This is sick. This is sick. This is it's 7.5. Oh, that hell yes. Okay.
Yeah,
sorry.
It's from like 7.5 to 8.5. It's the same base, but depending on like the fruit and stuff.
Okay. Oh, this is wicked. Sorry, I got excited, so I cut you off, guy. Keep going. Yeah, this is fire.
Yeah. No, we've loved doing these because we started these was after our first year, something like that.
I think so. We found one that we liked.
Yeah.
Like the base that we liked.
And I really enjoy it because it's a great way to learn about these different fruits. We've done a ton of different versions of this.
Yeah.
And so over time you figure out what you like paired with something else. What would each kind of fruit contribute to a beer like this?
Okay. And the base is it's pretty big. Like this is a large beer. So the base is I guess a Berliner. Because this is like this is almost super unique. It's like it's pretty acidic and tart.
Yep.
Which I love. And typically but I would almost call this is it heavily fruited? Would you consider this like this to me feels like in between, like like the 5% kind of a little bit lighter. This is very like murky. which would potentially suggest there's a lot of fruit puree in it, but it's also not, like you said, like a bright tank 50% fucking, you know.
Yeah, right. No, it's not that.
No, it's not that kind of vibe. But it seems in between that.
Yeah.
But the higher ABV ramps the body up a little bit, which is that gives it that sort of closer to a smoothie without being a smoothie.
Yeah, it gives that closer to actual fruit kind of flavor and perception.
Huh. This is all, and they're all like this. All the different ones you've done. This.
But that one I think looks like. I mean, it has like the dark fruits.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
We have a raspberry and mango right now. That's gonna look a little less.
Yeah. So we'll do everything from, call it like a pink guava sour, all the way to extremely dark fruits. That'd be like all raspberry, or be like black currant or something like that. That's definitely a lot of the darker stuff too. So they're all different color ranges in there.
Okay. We have like 2 to 4 on tap in our main tap room all the time, so people can do like a flight of sours if that's what they like. And it's a good option for if we get people that come in and they're like, oh, I don't really like, this is having something for everybody. Our wine drinkers and stuff, like we'll send them to this. Or if someone's like, I don't really like beer, we'll be like, but have you tried the sour? And then usually you convert them at that point too.
Typically the sours can be that little gateway beer for the wine or cocktail drinkers that don't really dabble as much. It's okay. So then, like you said, there's always multiple versions of this, so they can't have a flight essentially at any given time. Do you rotate them, or is it kind of like one and done? Like,
we rotate them.
Yeah, so it'll be and we may get back to a combination like once a year, maybe up to twice a year. It kind of just depends on which one.
Okay. This is crazy. This is so nice. This is like easily one of the best. Like I can't remember having one like this. It's super unique, and it's got all of it's almost like got a the level of acidity it almost tastes like the fruit dialed down like a 9% barrel aged sour or something like that, because it's got that acidity that is like poking through, and often the fruit kind of mutes it a little bit, which is fine. But I like this. There's something with the sweet and sour balance of this, which is unlike, I don't think, anything I've had before.
Yeah,
this is sick, man.
Yeah, and we developed this a lot to do with the souring yeast that we use, because this is soured in the fermenter. We've tried a couple like kettle sours that are definitely a little more mild as far as like the tartness goes. And so we basically developed our beer around a certain level of acidity, because these do get pretty acidic. They're pretty tart.
And that's all from the yeast?
Yep.
Okay. It's oh man. Oh, it's got lactose in it as well.
Yep.
Okay, that's great. How much does that contribute to the body, would you say?
They're big enough beers that they would, be okay without it, but certainly you want that extra body and sweetness in there to boost the fruit up. I think they wouldn't be where they were without it. Short of having to make some, extreme modifications somehow to the recipe. We don't want to go into this using a bunch of like crystal malt to make it sweeter or something like that. We want to go more just kind of like a base beer that doesn't require that. And so lactose is nice in between. It provides this nice kind of body and a little bit, background sweetness to help boost the fruit character.
Well, and to help the fruit taste more like it actually does when you bite
the
into
fruit.
Yep.
What do you guys use? Is it the aseptic fruit puree, like you were saying earlier? There's no the fake, what's it called? The artificial.
The extracts or concentrates.
Extracts, thank you. Yeah.
So we used aseptic puree.
Aseptic puree. Yeah. Fire. Are these year round? The sours, like anytime? Yep. How do they move in the winter? Are they pretty popular still?
Yeah, I mean they're a good beer style to have on. They have good longevity to them. And yeah, so we'll keep them on year round. They don't.
See that working.
I don't know. There's definitely a particularly high or low season for them. They're in good demand, kind of just in general.
I can see this is really unique, guys. This is fire. Even looking on Untapped, like the actual average rating, even for this one's like 4.19, which is pretty big.
Yes.
I feel like this people are like loving it. That's sick.
Yeah.
No, I don't really put a lot of what's the word, like gravity into people's untapped ratings or anything like that. I always like to see what's going on, see what people are saying
Mhm.
after I do my own thoughts on it, because I feel like if you get influenced by it, it's a bit silly.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, this is clearly like, okay, this is I didn't even realize that you guys were equally as known for the sours and the haze. That's killer. Is it a popular thing in Indianapolis as far as the sours? Is that something you can find in a lot of places, or is it a little sparse?
I mean, I'm sure there are some. It's definitely more of a unique thing that we kind of, at least locally. There are certainly, some other ones in Indiana, but as far as like locally, kind of the big sours, there has been a lot of the style that we do, at least.
Yeah, I think some like Upland and something they do more like barrel aged sours,
Yep.
which is kind of a
Okay.
whole other program than this type of sour.
Totally. That seems to be like unfortunately, there's a whole bunch of breweries that I'm seeing now that are if they lean into that, they're not lasting. Like they're shutting down.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
crazy, like that style specifically. Not so much farmhouse as much as like this just barrel aged sours and stuff. Yeah, it's it's not working so well right now.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. Like a lot of people like hung their hat on that and made their
Yeah,
like
sure.
that their whole thing. Yeah, is that happening? What's the deal with that? Are you guys seeing that? Because I know just earlier we were just talking about like where beer is at. Is that happening a lot in the area? As far, are you seeing closures? Is there more openings than closures? Like what's the temperature?
I mean, so we honestly, since we opened, there really hasn't been a whole lot more to open in our area.
Mm-hmm.
But there for sure have been quite a few closings in that time.
Okay.
And
Sucks.
yeah, it does. Yeah,
Okay,
it's
let's see.
unfortunate to see.
Yeah. Are you guys concerned about when you see all that, or is it sort of the vibes, you know what
I
you're getting into?
I mean, there's always a concern
Yeah.
when you own your own
Yeah.
business, but I think it's trying to like we're fortunate that we have the four of us to where we can focus on different parts of the business that I think some of the smaller breweries don't necessarily have the resources to do. So like, marketing is such an important part. If you make a new beer, people have to know about it. If you have an event, people have to know about it. And in some of these smaller breweries that might not have the resources to do that, or like to host and market private event space, like that kind of thing. And I think that's one of the things that we're able to be successful about. And I'm not saying that because I do our marketing, but I'm saying that because we have more of us that can focus on those pieces of the business. And from the beginning, we put emphasis and importance on those. I think you kind of see some breweries closing where maybe it was opened as a hobby, and and without maybe a super forethought into all the aspects that are encompassed. I mean, it's definitely not easy.
Yeah,
owning a brewery,
yeah,
and then like or just a business in general, and you learn as you go and you try to do the best you can. But I don't think we're worried as much as we want to keep doing right by our team and by our customers. And so it's always kind of like, what is next to keep us moving forward in those directions.
No, that's a great answer, and that makes a lot of sense. So on that note, then, like to bring it home, what is next for you guys? Is there anything that you're excited about that's coming up? Obviously, you said 2025 process year, very important to dial in the businesses and make sure everything's operating smoothly and get this sort of new the new brew house schedule aligned so that you can take some time off. What else have you guys could have got on the horizon that's this will come out in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, so relatively soon, before early December.
I mean, you kind of nailed it on the head as far as what I guess the immediate future looks like.
I mean, from a fun perspective, so we're just about to get into our new crop year of like Citra and Mosaic and stuff like that. These hops that we picked, I guess, been a couple months ago now. We're excited to get them in and actually start running some trials with them and doing some production batches. And so I get excited about that. because we've really been happy with our Citra from a couple years ago, the Citra this year, and they're both so different and unique from each other, but they're both great at the same time. It's kind of a cool thing to see. Oh, it's like a new present this year. Like what's it gonna be like?
Yeah.
So we're excited to do that, and that's kind of some of the hazy stuff coming up. Will be working with some of these new hop lots that we have.
Hell yeah! Do you guys ever mess with the experimental hop products like the hop key for the Cohea Nelson stuff or Sub Zero or anything like that?
So we do a lot of freestyle hops now.
Mhm.
We haven't done as much of that. We've done some similar things. So like we've used some like the 702 that has a name now from Yakmachi. I forget what it's called, but we used some of that stuff. We just haven't, even though we're I guess a smaller brewery that has a lot of these experimental options to us, it can still be hard to fit in some of these experiments that we want to do, or at least to fit them into kind of a longer range production stuff. And so we have, and they're cool. I don't know that they replace T90 pellets, by any means. We've even seen, and I thought maybe we were just alone on it, but we've even seen a lot of breweries moving away from cryo pellets because, I guess the benefit that you expect to see from cryo, it's not like a 1-to-1 from what you would get from T90. You can, if you dry hop with an equivalent amount of cryo, while it on paper maybe has the same potency you'd have from T90, the experience hasn't been quite there. And I think a lot of people are kind of seeing that nowadays, where it was kind of this cool thing to try. But, I think T90s is still kind of where we'll stick, and we'll add in some of these other products, especially if it's not about reducing cost or anything like that. It's really about, can we make a better product with it by adding it into our process? If we can, great. Makes a great product, awesome. But it's not the driving factor isn't to save money because it's a flowable or it's an extract or anything like that.
Huh. I was at a brewery this afternoon and we're kind of having that almost exact conversation. They were saying that there's something about the T90s that do something to the body.
Yeah.
That the extract sort of, or those sort of more liquid products that while you get a better yield, that it's something missing.
Yeah.
From it. Interesting. That's sick. Okay, love it. So a bunch of good stuff coming up. Stick around. We'll finish off air. But honestly, thank you guys so much for the conversation, for taking the time to hang out. This has been really cool and just learn about, what you guys are really doing and a bit more about Indiana and Indianapolis and as far as what's happening out there. So this is phenomenal. So I'm a bigger fan than I was when I came in. So thank you guys so much for doing this. Is very, very cool. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Man, such a pleasure. Where can everybody find Guggman Haus online and in real life?
So you can find us on GuggmanHausBrewing.com. So just Google Guggman Haus and it'll take you there. And then Instagram, Guggman Haus Brewing, and Facebook, Guggman Haus Brewing. And then that'll link to our coffee house if you want to check that out. But then in Indianapolis, our main location is just northwest of downtown, 1701 Gent Avenue. Google will take you there as well. Try to be pretty active on social. So you send us an Instagram message, I will answer it.
You do. That's how we're here.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So I definitely would highly encourage everyone to get down there, check it out, both locations, get the coffee. Very, very cool. Love it. Once again, thank you guys so much for your time. Stick around. We'll just wrap it up. As soon as we end, we'll chat it up and we'll let you go. But everyone, thank you so much for watching and listening. If you enjoyed the episode, smash the thumbs up, hit subscribe below, hit that notification bell so you know when the new drops. Follow us everywhere at BAOS Podcast and check out the long form audio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You know the vibes. Guys, appreciate it. See you in the next one. Cheers, y'all.